end of time.
O'clock.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good show tonight.
Oh, I mean, this is a great topic. Like, one of y'all recommended this, and I was like, holy shit, like, we never did do a show about that. And it's like, I think we've kind of, like, talked around the subject a little bit, especially when we did shows about, like, killer couples, because we've done a lot of those. You know, and I think when we've done shows about specific serial killers, like Danny Rolling, for instance, who had women that married them in prison or helped them out or something like that, we probably, like, mentioned it, but I don't know. Like, we've never done a show that was specifically about this.
Yeah. Looks like everybody's here pretty much. I don't see Zach. If Zach, you there? Go ahead and drop something in the comments. Want to tell you something?
He would probably say if he was.
Yeah. Usually he's looking, running his mouth.
Yeah,
I don't want to say what I want to say until I know he's here.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, this show is going to be about those chicks that have a fucking fetish for serial killers.
Yeah.
And they're locked up in prison in trial, and they're falling in love with the guys, or they're having conjugal visits. And
well, sometimes, like, it depends on the state, because usually, if you're on death row, they don't allow conjugal visits.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean to say that they don't happen, because you can bribe guards and shit like that. And you know, in the specific case of Ted Bundy, he impregnated his wife. So
he might have snuck something out, though. He might have snuck something out in a condom to her.
That's another thing. It's like, you don't necessarily have to, like, bang them in the... Even though I think that did happen in their case, that they, like, bribed somebody. But yeah, all you have to do is, like, you know, shoot your load into something that she can take home with her, and she can put it up there with the turkey base.
Turkey base, that bitch.
God, it's so early to be starting with the turkey base.
We're already going down.
That's all right. I mean, nobody should be surprised at this point. You know what I mean?
So, Jen and I, we have Amazon Prime, and we started watching Fallout series.
Last night, yeah.
And I played both Fallout 3, F4, and New Vegas. I didn't do Fallout 76, but maybe I will. I don't know. I think that's one of those games where you have to be online all the time, I think. But anyway, I love that game. This fucking series, we've seen about 5 or 6 episodes.
Well, 3 or 4, I think.
I thought, is it that? 3 or 4?
I think we're on the third one of the whole thing.
No, it's more than that, like 4.
4, we're on the 4th.
Yeah, this series is fucking fantastic.
It's really good.
I love it, yeah. I heard some people fucking weeby-being and crying about it, but no, they capture the game perfectly. They capture the game. The tone of the game is perfect. Just the characters. I like the characters, even the ones that are supposed to be unlikable. I still like them. You know, some of them I'm just like, that guy dude's kind of a shitbag. You know, I don't trust that dude. You know, like Maximus, I don't really trust that guy. But I think he's supposed to be crooked. I think, or kind of ambiguous.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll see. You know,
I'm
just wait to see how the characters develop.
It's, like, way better than I was expecting. I had heard it was good because we have a lot of friends that are big fans of the game. Yeah. And I had seen them posting, like, on social media. It's like, man, this show is so good. And I'm like, yeah, one of these days we'll get around to watching it. And we just pulled the trigger on it.
Yeah, the cities, the burned out cities, the deserts, the fucking power armor, the weapons, everything's exactly like the game. The abominations is what they call them. They got the Brotherhood of Steel in there. There's a city that looked a lot like Megaton. It wasn't called that, though, but also Home Plate. It kind of looked like Home Plate a little bit, too. But if you know the games, you know what I'm talking about. But the power armor looks to be a practical effect. That's not CG.
It doesn't look like CG.
Yeah, when it opens, it looks like it is, but fucking walking around, it looks good. And the little fucking generic 9mm or 10mm pistol that you get fucking when you at the beginning of the game, they show that a lot, and it's just exactly like it was in the game. It's mocked up perfectly.
Everything looks like almost exactly like it does in the game.
Yeah, the score is just like it. The fucking thinking of the fucking the Vault Tech company, and
they
Vault
did
Dwellers and
did
everything.
A good job.
Yeah,
they did a good job.
Yeah. Fucking,
Well, like I said, if you're gonna make a game as iconic, or if you're gonna make a series about a game as iconic as Fallout, you better get that shit right, because you know damn well everyone's gonna piss and moan about every tiny little detail.
from
If
what
you
I'm
don't get
seeing
it
so
right.
far, man, they got it right.
They have. I haven't
Yep.
seen anything. Like, I don't play the games, but I've watched Tom play them for like hours and hours and
Yeah.
hours. So, you know, and I'm kind of throwing in my 2 cents and everything.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And one of the main characters is a ghoul, but he's a non-feral ghoul. And he was from before the war, so he's centuries old. And he's played by the same guy who played the death row inmate that got sent to the fucking planet on fucking Predators.
Yeah.
It's that guy.
That
And
dude's
he-
in everything.
and
Well, he's not in everything, but he's in a lot
That
of stuff.
dude knocks it out of the fucking park
Yeah,
in
he's
this
great.
series.
He's like the best part.
He
I
plays
mean,
like an old west. He's a ghoul, but he looks like an old west gunfighter,
yeah.
and does some fucking dastardly shit, man. And you just buy it, you know. And there's kind of little elements of tongue in cheek to it, but that was the tone of the game.
Yeah.
So you know, and it turns out, you know, back before the world got destroyed, he was actually an actor, and he acted in westerns.
Yeah.
You know, but he really is a bad motherfucker. He really is good because he's
Man.
fucking 200 years old. You know,
The one part
and he
where
can't really die.
the one part where she goes in there, like, thinks she's getting sold into sex slavery, and she talks to that robot, Snip
Yeah.
Snip. Oh my god, that scene was so fucking funny.
Yeah, it was one of those, she gets in there and it's fucking one of those flying Mr. Gutsy robots with
Yeah.
the tentacles on the bottom.
Right.
But it was going to harvest her organs.
It was just
I knew something
the
bad
way
was
it
gonna
played out was just like so funny
happen.
to
Yeah, it was
me.
going to happen.
And the
But,
guy, whoever was doing the voice, I don't know if it was the same person that did the voice from the game, but it was just kind of like, I mean, in spirit, it seemed very
But
much
as
the same.
bad as new Star Wars is, this is fucking has made up for it. You know what I mean? I had no hope for sci-fi. It's like after I saw Star Wars and how bad fucking Star Trek is now.
Yeah, but different people make different things. You
Fuck,
can't
it's
just like across
This
the board.
is fucking brings back.
Because look how good fucking Dune was.
Yeah, Doom was great. Doom was fucking great. I was just talking about the classics. They ruined
Yeah.
a lot of the classics. Just they took it in the wrong direction. This is fucking authentic, you know. And the cast, the characters, the way everybody interacts, just everything. It's just like out of the game. If you like the game, you'd like the movie. Yeah, it's it. They got it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So, like I said, I think we're on episode 4, or we just finished episode 4. So we might watch some more of it after the show if we're on.
Yeah, I
Tuesday,
might watch
but,
one.
but we'll see because it might be too late. Who knows? Who knows where this discussion is gonna go? Because
Yeah.
there's all kind of this shit. Okay, CB says, ironic justice. Bundy brought a girl into the world. Yeah, Carol Ann Boone, his wife, had a daughter. And can't say that I blame the daughter. She changed her name and shit like that. And she's just living her own fucking life. Which, like I said, I don't blame her one bit. I think, if I remember correctly, I think she was interviewed by Anne Rule, who, you know, wrote that book, the very famous book, The Stranger Beside Me, because she worked with Ted Bundy at, like, a suicide hotline before anybody knew he was a serial killer, obviously. But she wrote a book about him later, about, like, her knowing him. And I think that Bundy's daughter talked to Anne Rule, but like under a pseudonym, if I remember correctly.
Chantilly Lace is thanking us for being live. She's studying for her exams. I assume that's a girl.
Good luck with that. Good luck. Yeah, we're live Monday night, Wednesday night, and Friday night. Different things going on. Monday night's movie review. Wednesday night is true crime, paranormal, history, whatever. And then Friday night is just free for all, where we just drink and talk about whatever bullshit we feel like talking about.
Ira said she passed a car crash on the way on the freeway.
Yikes.
Me and Jenny did that. We were coming out of the club one time. This is on I-4, and we got caught in a fucking pileup. A pileup happened right in front of us, and I stopped to slow down to get it, and there was no way around it that I could see, you know, by staying inside the lane. And we had been drinking. Everybody in this pileup had been drinking. It was a Saturday night fucking car pileup after the club.
And it was late. It was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
2 or 3 in the morning. And I'm
Maybe
looking
4.
at this fucking truck that was in front of me sideways. And I'm looking at the driver. And as I'm looking at him, a car comes and just boom, hits that truck and just flips it. And I just saw that dude just evaporate. And I was just like, oh, fuck this. I put it into gear and went through the wrecked cars and drove the hell out of there. We were looking in the fucking rear view mirror as I was driving. The freeway was dead in front of it. Behind it, you could see all the cars, but headlights piling up in that wreck. Yeah. I was like, we're getting out of here.
I mean, we could have.
A lot of other people just froze. They just stopped and they got hit. If
I
you
mean,
run up
yeah,
on,
that's-
if you run up on a fucking pileup, try to go through it.
Just get around it.
Get around it. Go through it.
You don't want to get involved in that.
Because you're going to get rear-ended.
Yeah, because
Yep.
everyone's going to stop, be like, oh shit, you know what I mean? And
Yep.
they're not going to be paying attention.
Yeah. The pile-up started, it was about 6 or 7 cars. And I think I remember hearing in the news later on about it. It ended up being like 15.
Yeah.
So, whew.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet there, literally.
Yeah.
Well, not quite literally.
Yeah, and we were loaded.
Well, yeah,
Had it been pulled over, I'd have been found drunk.
probably.
Yeah.
I mean, no one else was on the
They were
boat.
all drunk.
Well, that's probably
It was a whole
it.
pile. It was a bunch of drunk people.
Yeah, CB said, yeah, she was devastated when Ted told her he was guilty. Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine. And like I said, I think we talked about that a lot, like with BTK and stuff like that, because, you know, because he had a daughter as well, which that always kind of blows my mind. Like, especially serial killers that have daughters and, like, treat their daughters, like, normally. I guess they just compartmentalize, right? Because it's just kind of like normally a normal person, like if you had a daughter, you wouldn't kill other women because you'd be able to be like, oh, that would be like my daughter. You know what I mean? But I guess they don't do that. I don't know.
Allison says she can only hang until 8:20. She's got a paid babysitting gig, but she'll try to join with when she gets it over. I don't know what time zone you're in.
Yeah.
But we'll be on for a couple hours probably.
Yeah, I mean, this is, like I said, this is a fascinating topic, and there's a lot of, there's a lot of shit we could go over. Like I said, it's cool because we don't have to have, like, a timeline or anything. I just kind of wanted to discuss, like, different things about it and different examples of it and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Sebastian says he's got Fallout 4 for PS4. He's got to finish RE4, probably Resident Evil, before starting it. You're going to like that. Although I would suggest fucking start with Fallout 3. Start with Fallout 3. It's good, too. And then I would go to New Vegas, and then I'd go to fucking Fallout 4.
Allison's in New York, so she's the same time zone as us.
And do all the if you have an online connection, you can do all the paid add-ons to that game, the expansion packs. They're all good. I don't know if Fallout 3 has expansion packs though. I never bought it for online. I had it on disc, and I don't think I had to go back and check. I want to play Fallout 3 again.
Phantom says Danny Rowling has a daughter. Yeah, that's right. And her Baumeister has 2 daughters. Yeah, see, that blows my mind more than if they were just like a single dude. You know what I mean? It makes it easier to understand, I guess. Not, But it just having a family and having daughters specifically and then going out and doing that kind of shit to women, I do not understand that at all. At all. Yeah, so, yeah, Tammy said, I always wonder how the parents of serial killers feel. Yeah, I've seen, like, interviews with...
Well, I've seen him with fucking, the guy who ate people, Jeffrey Dahmer's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, like, if your kid did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fucked up, because everyone would blame you. I mean, even if they didn't think that they were blaming you, they would low-key blame you. Like, for real, they would. So, it's like, well, you must have done something fucked up, like, for them to have ended up like that. Which in a lot of times, I mean, yeah, because a lot of people, that end up being serial killers, yeah, a lot of them did have fucked up childhoods, but some of them didn't. So, You never know. And there's, like, a lot of times I think there's something the matter with them, like, to start with. Yeah, American Military 100 said, I hope Joseph D'Angelo's daughters agree to an interview one day. Yeah, it would be interesting. Like, I can't imagine, like, what if my dad turned out to be a serial killer? I mean, pretty sure he's not a serial, not 100% sure, but you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure he's not.
Cason's asked me if I played BioShock. No, I haven't played that one.
But, I'm not really sure how I would feel about it, and I'm not really sure how, like, if I would want to talk to the media. You know what I mean?
Here's a good question. Phantom wants to know if we'll ever bring back sidetracks the beverage tasting.
Yeah, we did that for a little while, and that was
Yeah.
super fun. Like, we'd always go by, like, weird...
Yeah, and I forget about it. We
Not
should
weird.
bring it back. I can bring it back.
Yeah, we could.
I'll just buy some fucking crazy ass shit and see if it's any good.
I mean,
that's how I discovered Modelo. And Modelo's fucking good. That's now the America's #1 beer. It beat out Bud Light. Modelo is very good, and I really like the Modelo. What were those things called? Michelada, which is flavored Mexican beer. I had a real Michelada at the Mexican restaurant, and it's just beer with fucking basically hot sauce in it. And what else was in it? Do you remember? think it was just hot sauce.
I wasn't
And
with
hot
you.
sauce and ice.
I
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
with
that's
you
right,
when you had
It was
that.
hot sauce and ice.
I'm sitting there going, I
It's
didn't.
not that-
When did you
yeah.
have that?
It wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. It's not that good.
I wasn't there.
But Modelo's Michelada was like the spicy tropical was really good.
Yeah.
It was hot with like mango and passion fruit and beer. It was really good. But I had 3 different flavors of that. Comes in a big old fucking tall can. And it's a beer that you can drink over ice. Like it's a mixed drink.
Well, Stoney says it's like a Bloody Mary beer.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Yeah. I think the normal Michelada is like a Bloody Mary made out of beer.
Yeah.
I had it at the Mexican restaurant. Yeah. Tomato sauce and fucking hot sauce. Yeah. And ice.
Yeah, I think the couple of times, I think we did some of the Old Smoky, like, moonshines, and we did Colt 45, because that was, like, a whole big thing, which was actually much better than I was expecting.
Colt 45 is fucking solid, man. It's good beer. It's good beer. And then I got into the damn history of malt liquors, and why malt liquors ended up being, like, cheap beer. How that happened. Because when malt liquors were first introduced, they were high-end beers in the United States, and if you go back in the old history, the old history of beer recipes that were around in the 1800s, with traditional American style beers and shit, they used to be better back before it was nationwide. Little local beer breweries, half that shit would have been defined as malt liquor. No, people they didn't differentiate between beer and malt liquor back then. If it tasted like beer, then that's what it was. So some of the big companies tried to bring malt liquor in because it had a higher alcohol content and it tasted better. You could make it fast too, you didn't have to age it. But it tasted high quality like an aged beer. So they were trying to use Colt 45, they'd try to sell it like it's something having to do with James Bond, and people weren't biting. So back then they were smart. They knew about advertising. They switched the advertising campaign to the black audience and went Billy D. Williams route, and that fucking worked. So black people saved malt liquor. Yeah, and it became like a black thing. Because it tastes good. There's a lot of bang for the buck. But it's good quality. It's good quality beer. I was talking about it, fucking one of our fans here. Every time I see him at the club, he's fucking drinking that malt liquor. Colt 45. For the money, if you're gonna buy a canned beer out of a 7-Eleven, you know what I mean? Don't buy that fucking piss water ass fucking Bud Light. Buy fucking Colt 45 high gravity.
It's way better.
Yeah, it's much better.
It's way better.
It's much better than other cheap beers.
White people are stupid, like paying for the shit.
I ain't paying for it.
Paying for the shitty beer. Mm-hmm. When you got good shit right there, that's just as cheap or cheaper. Let's see. Sabrina said, did Ted Bundy's mother ever do interviews? Not that I maybe she did, but I don't know. If I was his mom, I don't think I would change my name and like move somewhere else and like not tell anybody that shit. Because like I said, the mom in particular would always get blamed. Have you two ever tried absinthe? I did. It was awful. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Yeah. I love the all the iconography around it. I love the ritual around it. But I don't like the taste of it. I don't really like anything that's that licorice-y.
Yeah, and that's the problem too.
Kind of taste.
Is that that modern absinthe of today? Like one of the best ones I've had was one that she worked for, was the distributor Lucid. She worked for the company that distributed that. I thought Lucid was great. The thing is, though, is that it's something kind of like ouzo or anisette. That's usually something like that. But that's not the way the original absinthe tasted like. Nobody really knew what it tasted like. They only had parts of the recipe and vague memories of what it was like. They just said it tasted herbal. So if it tastes like black licorice, it's a copy. It's a knockoff of what it originally tasted like. An original bottle of that shit went at auction for several $1 million, and companies were bidding to fucking get their hands on that bottle so they could taste it and have their tasters analyze it and figure out how to make it. And one of the companies won out, and I saw the interview with the guy that tasted it. He tasted it. He's like, yeah, when I tasted it, it's not what we thought it was. It's just a very buttery flavor. It doesn't have any hint of licorice in it at all. And they tasted it and said, this wouldn't sell. It wouldn't sell in today's market.
Oh, I don't know if that's true, but I mean,
they just said it didn't taste good.
They sell all kind of stuff that doesn't taste good.
They said it didn't taste good, and that it was just a kind of a boring, nondescript flavor, buttery. with slightly herbal hints to it.
That sounds kind of good though. But I don't know. I haven't tasted it.
They know the market. And they
I
would just
guess.
evidently they said that people would not be interested in.
I'm not talking about the market. I'm talking about me specifically.
Yeah, right.
Like I might like it.
The company that got paid a couple million to get their hands on that bottle, fucking, they weren't impressed with it. It was like, this will never sell.
American Military 100 says even John Wayne Gacy has kids from a previous marriage. Yeah, I remember that. He also had female pen pals wanting to marry him, which, yeah, is what we're going to be talking about this evening. Those kind of people. And then Allison says, yeah, John Wayne Gacy even. Now that's scraping the bottom of the barrel. Now, here's the thing.
Especially when he was gay.
Well, yeah, Dahmer got a lot of female pen pals, too. But the thing about it, I read, like, a bunch of different shit about this. And a lot of dudes, I kind of feel like it's maybe like some fucking incel type dudes or something like that. They're always like, oh, well, only the good looking ones get pen pal. I'm like, nope.
No, they'll just get ugly.
Henry Lee Lucas got female fan letters. Lots of them.
Yeah, who knows what they
so
look
it
like.
doesn't matter. Well, like I'm saying, it's just not the hot ones. Like, hot ones, if we want to fucking say that. It's not just like the Ted Bundy. They're ones that are like kind of normal looking or, somewhat attractive. It's pretty much all of them. I don't think it's the looks as much as the fame. The more famous or notorious they are, then the more letters that they got. And I think that's mostly, like I said, just because they're famous or infamous, as the case may be. So yeah. So do you want to get? Well, probably I need some more ice before we get. I can't believe all.
I'll get you that. I can't believe
all that ice melted.
Can't believe Zach didn't show up.
Well, when he gets here, he comes a little bit later. Yeah, American Military says Ted Bundy's mom has granted several TV interviews. I didn't know that because I'd never seen them. Called her little Teddy the best boy in the world. Oh, Lord. One of those, huh? Now, well, does she admit that he did that shit? Or is she, like, completely delusional? And says, like, look, I get that that's your kid and you don't want to believe that shit. But there comes a point where you gotta kind of admit that that's kind of what they're like. I'm not saying she did it or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's like you have to admit that that's what you produced, whether you like it or not. Let's see. Dana Rowling says, in my opinion, Doreen Leoy's marriage, yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit, to Richard Ramirez was probably the most legit as a prison marriage could be because they stayed married for a long time. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how legit any of these are because, as we will see, and this isn't the case across the board, but the attraction to serial killers specifically, they're usually, the overwhelming majority of times, obviously, that woman has psychological issues, big time. Not in all cases, like some like pretty normal, well-adjusted people do that shit too, but that's kind of pretty rare. Like from what I was reading, I've read a lot of different like papers and studies about this, and they're like generally about 80% or more, but generally about 80% of the women that do this, that like lust after serial, to the extent where they're like writing to them and visiting them and perhaps marrying them in prison, 80% of them have experienced some kind of trauma or abuse either in their family of origin or in their marriages or relationships prior. So these are not super psychologically healthy people. I mean, which should be obvious.
Zach showed up. Who summoned me? All right, Zach. We saw in Her Majesty's Secret Service.
On Her Majesty's.
On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
That's
This grammar Nazi got to correct everything.
What? That's the correct
that's
title.
The name of it. Okay, yeah. We saw that fucking movie.
You'll never learn if I don't tell you.
All right. I can't teach me anything anyway.
That's true.
I'm too old. It's like the Jedi. He's too old for training. We saw that 007 movie. That bitch was badass.
It was so good. You're right.
Yeah.
It was really good.
That's the best James Bond movie I've seen that wasn't a Daniel Craig movie.
Yeah, I think I might. I might have liked that just as much as Goldfinger, or maybe more.
I think more. I like that dude. What's his name? Fucking
George Lazenby.
Lazenby. Yeah, I thought he was a better James Bond than Sean Connery. I just bought him better. And the writing, the script, Telly Savalas knocking it out of the park. We're gonna do a full review of that shit Monday. All right.
Yeah.
But if y'all have not seen, you can see it for free on what was that, HBO Max?
Well, if you have HBO Max,
if you have HBO Max, you can see it for free.
it's on there. Like that's
Yeah.
where
If not, you can rent it for a couple bucks off of Amazon. It's called
On Her Majesty.
On Her Majesty's Secret Services, 1969.
The only George Lazenby.
Yeah. Now I fucking told my mom. I said I know because she loves fucking James Bond, and she got off on fucking Daniel Craig James Bond. She thought that dude was fucking hot, and I said, well, if you like Daniel Craig, go see this one. And she goes, oh yeah, do you know? And she goes, me and your dad saw that in the theater when I was pregnant.
Yeah, because that was 1969.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the year you were born. Yeah.
Yeah, she says your dad loved that movie. Like,
it was
really?
so good.
Yeah,
it was really good.
He thought that was the best James Bond movie he had ever seen, but he only did that one movie.
Yeah, I guess. Did he not want to do it anymore?
He didn't want to do it anymore, or something like that. And they got Connery back, but don't think of it as a knockoff James Bond movie. It's not a knockoff. It's a fucking badass James Bond movie. There's differences from Sean Connery. It's way ahead of its time. Way ahead of its time. Just the way the action is, everything is very believable. Zero cheese, real hardcore. But,
Yeah,
and then they show. We're reviewing the movie already, but anyway.
Well, yeah, that's on you.
I
You're the one that brought it up, not me.
I know, man. I'm getting lost down in there. But the thing about it is that one of the things I hated about the old Bond movies is how these girls would jump into bed with James Bond just because he was James Bond. He didn't have to do anything, especially Roger Moore. Well, hey, open your legs, bitch. You know, just like that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. No, in this one they show you why he was successful with him. He earns it. He talks his way into it.
He's not a dick to them either.
He's not a dick.
And honestly,
cool.
in this one,
Yeah.
Diana Rigg is in this.
Yeah.
And and he actually falls in love with her. So he's not just
Yeah.
going around banging every fucking woman.
No, well, he did what he had to do. He was,
right.
Sometimes a spy got to be a hoe, you know.
Yeah, he did do that, but then later on,
But his heart wasn't in it. He
Right.
wanted, you know. You just got to fucking see, you know. But see that movie, which will prime you for our review for it Monday.
yeah, like I said,
gonna be a good show.
don't spoil everything about it.
No,
because,
it's gonna be a good show.
We're gonna talk
I
about it on Monday.
teased it. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah, because Zach is talking about how awesome the cinematography is,
Yeah.
and the editing in that movie. Wasn't it light years ahead of its time?
Light years ahead.
I mean, yeah, it almost
It's like a modern movie.
Like you said, it almost seemed like a modern movie.
It's like a modern movie,
It kind of
yeah.
blew my mind a little bit.
It seemed like a modern movie trying to fake a retro movie. You know what I mean? It's like, let's make a
Yeah.
60s spy movie.
Right.
And but it's in a modern.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's
Yeah.
good. It's right up there with Daniel Craig stuff.
Yeah, it was real good.
Much better than anything I've seen from fucking Moore.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
Not cheesy in the slightest.
No, real good.
At all.
That's my other Bond. That's my other Bond. Yeah.
Even though he only did one movie.
You only did one movie. That's my other Bond. Though.
Yeah.
Although I've heard Daniel Craig fans say, well, it's a copy of Lazenby. That's what he's doing. I said, yeah, it is. They
I can
went
see
to
where
the
they're
good Bond.
I can see where they're coming
Yeah,
from.
yeah.
So getting back to the actual topic. CB said, I believe it is a fetish. It is. They do consider it a fetish. Or paraphilia is the term that they would use. Because a girl at the bar I go to asked me to do the letter for her because she's dyslexic. And offered to do my fetish with me if I did it, but I refused to do it. So she wanted to write to serial killers. Yeah. Like I said, there is a word for it. It was actually coined by Dr. John Money, who's actually kind of a famous sexologist.
They're asking what movie was it? It was On Her Majesty's Secret Service. 1969. See it. Fantastic. It's the best retro Bond movie. Up there with the new stuff. It's up there with Craig. It's just so watchable. And Telly Savalas knocks it out of the fucking park. The great Telly Savalas. That's right. Greco-American star. And man, the motherfucker had a high testosterone count. He just sells the movie. And everything's very authentic, down to the guns and everything. First time I saw interesting guns in Bond. It was a very good movie. And real shit happens. I'm getting outside.
Yeah,
Fuck,
stop.
Man, fuck.
Why won't you stop?
Yeah.
He acknowledges that he's doing it, and then he just keeps doing it. I don't understand.
Because it's attracted me.
Well, too bad.
Yeah.
You got to talk about some other shit now. Sorry. But yeah, okay. So the word, Hybristophilia. Now, it doesn't mean... it's not necessarily an attraction to just serial killers, but it's defined as a sexual attraction to pretty much anyone who commits like any kind of violent crime. You know what I mean? So it could be rape, could be armed robbery, could be anything like that. Yeah, so the term was coined in 1986 by Dr. John Money, who, like I said, very famous sexologist. I actually read a couple books about him. And the word actually comes from the same root as the Greek word, like, hubris, Hubristian or whatever it was initially, which usually means, like, to commit an outrage against someone, and then the philo part of it means having a strong preference for, or a strong affinity for.
For outrage.
Like being into, and like I said, it is considered a paraphilia, meaning this is like a sexual fetish, what they would call, like, in layman's terms, like a sexual fetish. Like, you do have to have like some kind of sexual attraction to this type of person. Whether you act on it or not is not, but so it's that. Now, the thing about it, and this was kind of interesting to me, because paraphilias in general are generally more much more common among men. However, hybristophilia is one of the very few paraphilias that are much more common in women. There are some men that do it. Like, I kind of talk about, like, one or two examples at the end, but overwhelmingly, it seems, at least according to the literature, this is a female fetish. And like I said, it's not, it's not all that common, honestly. But it's one of the few paraphilias, one of the few fetishes that is way more common in women.
That kind of shit's real common in men, especially if you look at, like, porn tastes. It's always the attraction for some girl who's doing outrageous shit. You bad bitch, you fucking so hot. But it's just like a porn thing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, because I
may not necessarily want to date that girl.
Well, see, and here's an issue that I had, which we'll get into a little bit when we talk about, like, the psychology of, like, the women that are into this. It's like there's all these studies about, why certain types of women, fantasize or are attracted to serial killers, write to serial killers, want to marry serial killers, all this other kind of stuff. And it's just kind of like, I feel like they're like, well, according to all of these studies, which usually have to do with the kind of erotica that women purchase, or like searches that they're making or something like that. And it's like, well, according to all this, like, women like super dominant men and blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, but you're going by searches and fantasies. You're not really going by necessarily what they would want to do in real life. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, I probably search for a lot of stuff online that either doesn't have anything to do with me because I'm researching something else, or like that I wouldn't want to do in real life. Yeah.
I think that's kind of universal in all the jerk-off material, whether it's male or female.
Sure.
They just want something that's new and exciting with a weird fucking angle to it. And they'll go off into that for a while, and then they'll change to something else. But I think everybody kind of has these weird fantasies.
Yeah, of course they do.
Doesn't necessarily mean that they actually do it.
And most people don't.
Because it's usually something they're fucking kind of coming up with, and it's only the last 15 minutes, and then they're okay, got that out of the system.
Right.
Type of deal. It's just shit like that. And, you just listen, you can go on YouTube and just see all kinds of interviews from women all around the world being interviewed, and they especially if they're in the right environment, they'll tell you all kinds of crazy shit. Doesn't necessarily mean they'll do it.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like I can't speak for everybody, obviously, but just me personally, like, I think of all kind of crazy shit, like, all the time, but that doesn't, like, 99% of the shit I would think of, I would never do that in real life. And I think most people are the same. Yeah. And honestly, if you did do it in real life, it wouldn't be as fun, and it would kind of just be, like, disappointing, probably. It's just kind of better to, like, keep it as not real. Because, the reality of a situation is never going to be as, like, hot as you imagine it. Right. Because there's all kind of other, like, logistics
all the
and
logistics
shit
involved in that shit.
Of going, right.
Yeah.
And it's just,
having to set that up and go...
That's what I mean. So that's what I always thought was funny about serial killers. They had these very, very specific, like, fetishes and stuff. And I'm just like, all I can think of is, like, man, what a pain in the ass that must have been to, like, bring all those clothes and set up the camera and, like, dig the hole, because I'm talking about...
Jen and I know people in the fetish scene around here, and fucking the goth club scene, the fetish club scene. There's some crossover. And some of the fetish stuff that you go to, or that I've been to in the past in clubs, I don't really find it. I think the fashion's kind of hot, but I don't really think what they're doing is hot, because it's all fake. It's a setup.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? None of it's really spontaneous. It's just kind of a ritualistic show or act that they're putting on.
And some people like that.
Some people like that, but to me, I'm just like, yeah, that's bullshit.
It seems like a lot of work.
Yeah,
That's
not
all
work for
I'm
nothing.
saying.
Yeah, they covered that chick in latex. Yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, she's tied up. Yeah, all right, great. But she wanted to be tied up though, so
Yeah, it's
Yeah, and then they untied her. Okay, big deal. It's just shit like that,
Yeah.
For me, I see it more of a fashion.
Yeah.
That's the only interesting part of it is just the clothes.
Yeah, Erica said it's like they like bad boys, but times 100. Yeah, that's kind of one of the overriding theories about why that happens. Yeah, Tammy said there are bad boys, and then there are bad boys. Well,
I think it's all about getting attention too.
Well, like I said, there's there's really no consensus on why some women are into this kind of stuff. I mean, there are some kind of suggestive reasons why, which we'll get into, but I do kind of feel like, one, I think it's an overgeneralization to say that women like bad boys. I know a lot of women do, but the thing about it is that the women that like bad boys, they don't want someone that's going to actually kill you or beat your ass or anything like that. They're talking about somebody who's like a little bit out of pocket. He's just a little bit out there. You know what I mean?
With these particular girls, they fucking will go after these dudes, but it's always after they're locked up safely in prison.
Well, see, there's
a bunch of people watching them. You know what I mean? They can't do anything to her.
That was and that was one of the things I wanted to address because I was reading an article and they're like, the question is if the woman met this dude before he gone to prison, before anybody knew he was a serial killer, for example, would she find him as attractive? No, and I doubt it. I think most of the time, no.
And when that dude turned on her to kill her, she wouldn't find that attractive at all.
Well, no, obviously. Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody would, unless they're real messed up.
Yeah, and I don't think... Though that must exist, but just in very small numbers. I mean,
that's what I mean. That's
that one German dude who was a cannibal, a gay cannibal, found a gay guy who wanted to be eaten.
That's what I mean. There's something for
there's some... And he ate that dude slowly.
He did, yeah.
And then he had some of it too.
Yeah.
He was eating some of it himself.
Like I said, some people are kind of messed up.
Some weird shit.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he had that dude cut his dick off. They cooked it, and then they both tried to eat it, but it was too tough, so they spit it out.
It was all chewy. And
That's
stuff.
some weird shit. And then he ended up eating that dude. And
That's
he knew
another...
that dude knew he was there to be eaten, and he would die. Well, that's some fucking sick shit, man.
Well, yeah, but like I said, I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that he knew that that's what was going to happen.
How rare is that? I mean, that's got to be
that's
very
super.
rare.
I'm sure that's vanishing.
Very rare, yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of weirdos out there. I'm not saying that, but it's just that have
How
all
many
kind of...
women are out there that would volunteer for that?
I'm sure that the number's not zero. I'm sure.
Be zero, yeah. I don't.
Nothing is because, like I said,
on the planet at any one time is 4 or 5.
There's nothing so freaky that somebody on Earth isn't doing it right now. Mm-hmm. I guarantee that. But how large is that? I can't imagine that being very large. But not zero.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's at least a handful, and I'm sure that they have a fucking subreddit somewhere where they discuss this crap.
Some weird shit.
I'm just saying. But yeah, it's kind of that. Now Zach says, I have to wonder if something along those lines is what got so many women into Twilight or 50 Shades. Yeah, and a couple of other articles I was reading about it, specifically brought up 50 Shades of Grey because of the... But it's not just that. For some reason, that was, the one that kind of, culturally, struck a chord, I guess. But a lot of romance novels, which I'm not into, but a lot of romance novels and erotica and stuff like that, not all of it obviously, but a large portion is like that, where there's this dominant quote unquote alpha male who's just bossy and telling you what to do, and he has all this money and shit like that. But the thing about it, I think a lot of people bring that up and they're just oh well, women like dominant men or something like that. But what they fail to realize is that in most of those erotic situations, in most of that romance fiction, the romance of it, the appeal of it for most women is that the dude is like that at the beginning, but then the woman finds that he's not really like that deep down. She's finding the real him, which is actually a lot nicer and a lot cooler than this asshole facade that he's putting on. So I don't think it's necessarily that I think that's just like a surface reading of like a lot of romance novels, because in almost all of those, you know, yeah, he's like that at the beginning, but then like, you know, at some point in the story, like he cries or he says he loves her or something like, and everybody's like, oh, like everyone's heart melts, you know what I mean? Because that's kind of like what women like about that. Not that the dude's a jerk. They like that he's like a jerk at first, but they can see that he's not really like that, and they're gonna get to the bottom of it. You know what I mean? There's really a nice person in there, like underneath all that assholishness, and I'm gonna find it. And then they do, and then that's kind of like, you know, so that's kind of what women like about that particular fantasy, largely, I think. So I think, like I said, it's a little bit of a shallow reading of, you know, just saying that women like men to be dicks to them, because I don't think that's the case. I think that a certain type of women like men that are maybe not dicks to them, but are like kind of dominant, but then they know that that, you know, you're the only person that he shows his vulnerable side to. I think that's what's attractive about that particular trope in romance fiction, is that here's a dude who's like a total, you know, he's a CEO and he's bossing everyone around and he's kind of a dick and it's like everyone thinks he's an asshole and stuff like that. But then like when he comes home, like he shows me his vulnerable side. He cries over his puppy or something like that. Like I think that's what women like. Not so much that the dude's a dick, you know? So, you know, that's just what I'm saying. So I kind of feel like one of the things that gets brought up a lot, which we'll get a little bit more into later when people talk about why women love serial killers, is that, oh, well, women like psychopathic traits, and this is just kind of like the extreme of that.
Yeah, I looked into that. That's not altogether true.
No, I don't think so either.
They call the dark triad traits. Psychopathy. Oh, shit. Yeah, the kitty comes in. What was it? I can't remember well. Machiavellianism. And what was the other? Psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and what was the other? The thing is, though, is that it tends to be, when you actually look at the statistics, it's younger women who don't know any better, really.
Yeah.
A lot of guys who have those traits are frauds. They really don't have what it takes to back it up. And a lot of those girls that are into that quickly realize that these dudes that exhibit these traits most of the time don't actually have the skills to back up what they're saying, or the power, really. Because it's a power trip.
Yeah.
But it's a dude that's faking that most of the time. So, yeah, they might be attracted to those traits, but it's mostly real young women. And a lot of the guys that exhibit those traits, they end up rejecting anyway, because they aren't really what they are. There are some guys that are really like that, but they can't have long-term relationships because they're too self-centered. All right.
Yeah.
So they end up being abusive. Now, I read that there's another version of the dark triad traits. And this one guy has coined it the dark gentleman. And what it is it's a guy he's a high-functioning psychopath. He has the dark triad traits, but he can care for women and children and animals. All right, which is rare in a psychopath.
Yeah, well, that would I can see how that would be a lot more attractive.
And it's because a guy like that you can actually marry. All right. And what they end up doing is it's the kind of guy who will lie, cheat, steal, and kill to get his family ahead. He'll do anything. So that is like some of these guys out of these gangster movies.
Well, like I said, that's a little bit more understandable.
It's a lot better. Yeah.
It's more understandable.
So he's doing his thing not only for himself anymore, but for his family. And women find that very attractive. But those dudes are rare.
Yeah. Because usually if you're a psychopath, you can't
only care about yourself.
Well, I mean, sociopath, you can't feel empathy.
Right.
Which by definition means you can't love anyone.
Right.
Really.
Right. And usually a dude who's just got the dark triad traits and who's a sociopath, he's faking his strengths. He tends to be a loser. He can't really achieve what he needs. Like Ted Bundy, okay? He went to college, but he was a shitty student.
Yeah, he couldn't hack it.
No, he couldn't hack it. You know, he looked like he was something, but it's all just superficial.
Yeah, which
You
is
know.
another thing that a lot of psychopaths have, is superficial charm.
Superficial shit.
That's one of their main aspects, actually. And I think that that's maybe something that appeals to a certain type of woman, too, is that superficial charm that they have. But they're very manipulative.
Yeah.
That's another thing that psychopaths are. They're very manipulative. So they're able to make you think... make you feel a certain way about them, like make you feel a certain way, but it's calculated. They don't care about you.
Now, before we get to this, is all we're talking about psychology. Psychology nowadays is considered a science. When I was a kid, people laughed at that. That was not a science. It's more like an art, okay, an art form or a philosophy, because there's no way to prove what someone is thinking or how they're feeling. But I've noticed in psychology, they can, basically, a lot of times, when you're at the entry level of psychology, they can kind of describe personality types. But so can fortune cookies. There's no way to prove a lot of this shit. So when you say psychopath or sociopath, yeah, there are people like that, but it's not real well cut. Or they're just this is a philosophy that's trying to describe people in the way that they are. But not everybody fits that cookie cutter.
Well,
mold,
everyone's different. I mean, so it's just, that's kind of why you can't really just, I know that people throw around words like sociopath and psychopath, but I mean, those are specific terms. Like, you have to be diagnosed with that.
Yeah, but it's hard to prove somebody is that, because you can't really tell what they're thinking. Some people have those traits, but maybe the internal mechanism isn't. But the thing is, I've seen pathological liars, people that just can't tell the truth no matter what. And it's definitely a personality disorder.
Yeah.
Definitely,
And that's like a pretty easy one to suss out.
You're right, right. A lot of these guys that have been caught as serial killers, when I'm listening to their interviews, they come across as that guy. Gramps knows who he is. We went to school with him, who was a pathological liar. He couldn't tell the truth, no matter what. All right? And there's something about the tone of his voice and the way he carried himself. A lot of serial killers have that.
Yeah.
When you see it, you never really unsee it. You go, that particular tone of personality, there's something wrong with him. And I think a lot of serial killers are also pathological liars.
Yeah, it's kind of all on a spectrum. So
Yeah.
it's like, I'm not saying that everyone's a pathological liar is a serial killer, but like I said, it's in that direction for sure. In that direction.
Yeah.
Sony says, a lot of girls I knew who grew up in communities with gangsta culture and lots of gang violence were hybristophiliacs, albeit for gangsters rather than serial killers, which, I could totally see that. And it's probably the same kind of psychology at play.
Well, they're in the fast life strategy system. So the guys they're attracted to are guys that can deliver something in the here and now. Guys, men of action. Guys that'll beat somebody up or kill somebody and take some shit, and then you got some money. It's not a long-term survival plan.
Yeah.
So...
Well, for that reason, I kind of feel like the only... Really, women sometimes like bad boys in the short term. When they're actually looking for a long-term partner, that is not an attractive option, which as it shouldn't be. And I mean, if you're psychologically healthy in any way. Brother Zachary says, women attracted to serial killers are supreme edgelords. I thought almost the exact thing, like earlier today while I was watching some documentaries about it, especially ones that are... I kind of feel like this one woman that was real into like Richard Ramirez, and she was just, and she kind of sounded a little bit vacuous, like, to be honest, can't remember what her name was, but she was like talking about how hot that she thought he was and all this other stuff. I just thought he was so hot and blah blah blah, and I'm just like, oh god, here we go. And like I said, I kind of felt like a little bit of an edgelordy vibe. Like, I think she kind of got off on the fact that everyone thought it was like super offensive and stuff. So the thing about her, though, to her credit, is that when she actually went through the thing and like went to meet him, you know what I mean? Because she wrote him all these letters and stuff. And after she met him, she left and she's like, what the fuck am I even doing? She's like, that dude is like a scumbag. So it's like, you know what I mean? So she like came to her senses, at least. But I feel like a lot of women do not, sadly. But yeah, it's just, Zach says, I also wonder if that I can fix him mentality some women have might be at play too. Yeah, that's a big, and yeah, that has been brought up like a lot of times.
There's a lot of women that have this savior complex.
Yeah,
I can save them.
Big time.
I can save them.
Some dudes have that too. I kind of feel like there's a little bit of that too. But yeah, women definitely have. Not all women, obviously, but a lot of women do have this kind of like, well, They have, well, it's a nurturing thing, it's an empathetic thing. You're like, oh man, he was, especially if it was somebody like a serial killer that was like abused as a child and stuff like that. They can think it's just like, oh, that poor guy, like he had a fucked up childhood, he didn't have a chance, and it's just like, my love can fix him, you know what I mean? Which and don't waste your time, seriously.
All right, the savior mentality in men is always going to be found in the church. Okay. They go to the church to save wayward people. They always end up with some chick who's a hot ex-porn star. Okay, I can save her. All right.
Yeah,
and
that's kind of what I was thinking of.
Yeah, and this is something that me and Jen have we're on the periphery of that industry. You know what I mean? We know people in that industry. There's a whole thing that people will in the porn business will tell you. Some of these girls, when they start wanting to get married, they end up joining the church. Okay, and then all of a sudden they give themselves to the Lord. They try to give it because they can't find a boyfriend. Not after all those fucking gangbang videos you made. So they go to the church for forgiveness and to fucking marry one of these priests. Or not priests. Here there'd be an evangelistic preacher.
Right.
You know, and that's right up his alley. Okay, I've saved her. She's clean now. Now roll over. You know what I mean?
Now I'm in a band.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's riding a roller coaster.
And he's probably doing all kind of horrible
Oh,
shit.
yeah. He's probably, oh, baby, you the best. You know what I mean? Fucking, because, you know. So that was like one of the things that some of the dating advice that I've heard in the nanosphere. They're saying, don't go to church to look for a fucking girlfriend.
Not that I would do that anyway.
Because you're going to find bad girls there. Because that was, don't go to church, you'll find it. No.
Not these days.
Not these days, and not a woman who's in her 30s plus or whatever, and not one that looks hot. If she's hot and she's trying to get involved in the church, it's an ex-porn star, ex-hooker, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
They're in the industry and they say that. That's where they end up, a lot of them. And the thing is that here religion is a business. Those girls can now make money with that guy.
Well, yeah.
They're going around doing. She knows all about show business.
Yeah.
You know, it's the
same.
same.
Well, like I said, if she's hot, she can go. They can do like fucking YouTube shows and all kind of stuff.
So if you see a Baptist minister up there preaching fire, this and that, and you look and he's got a little chippy wife and shit, and she looks fucking hot, that's probably a girl from the sex industry.
Erica says, I love romance novels. Mafia romance is my favorite. Love the alpha male but teddy bear on the inside trope. Like I said, I kind of feel like that's where people fall down with the whole, like, oh, women like assholes thing. It's just like they don't like assholes. They like dudes that kind of appear to be assholes on the surface but aren't really like that deep down.
A good way to describe what Jen and I are talking about, excuse me, I'm getting ready to sneeze. Watch a movie Labyrinth. Okay. Little Jennifer... What's her name? Jennifer Connelly.
Yeah.
She's got this thing for David Bowie. He's this sexy fucking older wizard, basically. Goblin wizard, all right? He's the bad boy. In the end, she fucking becomes disenchanted with that, you know. Fucking, you have no power over me. And he vanishes. And that whole story is a great movie. Every young girl should be showed that movie. Because it's about men. You know,
very instructive.
It's very instructive on what men are like. It's just this young chick with all these men, and they're all worthless. An old guy who's friendly, but she doesn't want him. A young fox that rides around on the dog that talks big shit but can't defend her. A big dude that can defend her, but he's dumb as shit. Okay, there's just all these different. A little worm that says, "I gotta go back to see the missus." All the male characters in there are dudes that she can't date. And the main one is trying to get the baby.
She has to navigate her own.
Navigate her way through all these men. And
labyrinth.
Trying to get a labyrinth and then trying to get
save her brother.
Trying to get the baby from this bad boy.
Yeah.
But in the end, that's not a bad boy, really. He has no power over her.
Yeah, and she has to, like, tell him that. Well, she has to realize that.
He's just realized that this is all in her imagination. These are just dudes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you can't let him to, like I said, don't give him an
He didn't have the magical power.
Right.
That he claimed to have.
Let me see. Okay. Stoney says, one of the most important pieces of dating advice I can give to straight men, I'm a bi guy, is don't show emotional vulnerability around girls. Usually a turnoff for them. They perceive it as insecurity. That depends. I don't know. I'm older, so it's kind of hard for me to say, but that depends on what it is. You know what I mean? And Stoney says, having dated both men and women, I can for sure state that men and women are not the same, not at all. Like dating two different species of aliens. Yeah, well, like I said, it's it's kind of on a spectrum, I guess. So I don't know. I've met some dudes that, you know, that I vibe with, and some dudes that I thought were like another species. And same with women, honestly, because I'm kind of, I don't even know where the fuck, I'm just in the middle of something. But I don't think I'm particularly masculine, but I don't think I'm particularly feminine either. Like, I don't really like super, you know, like super like alpha, or you know, the ones that are like all out there beating their chest with big trucks and all that. That's stupid to me. That's, again, that's, to me, that is more insecurity than, you know, being emotionally vulnerable. But I don't really like super femmy, girly, oh, I can't do that kind of, and like playing being dumb and stuff like that. I don't like that either. Like, I can't be around those kind of people. I just like people that are just like fucking chill, you know? They just act like a normal person, I guess. And don't try to like put anything on. But yeah. So he says Manosphere guys be like, yeah, man's prime begins at 70. And Zach says, oh, don't even get me started. So, you know.
I laugh at some of those dudes. Man, it's really good. Oh, those guys. The thing is, they're not all wrong. It's just it's a mixture of dudes talking, and a lot of them, half of them, they're young. You know, but they don't know
shit.
They don't know what they're talking about. No. The best one is a dude named Sterling, who's an ex porn star and ex male escort for females. Though he actually was an escort for female porn stars. Okay, because on a day off, they just want a dude. They'll hire a professional guy. And a guy's named Sterling, and you can find him on some, and he fucking knows his shit. Okay, and maybe somebody can drop it in. And I don't remember what his first name was. He's a British guy, or British or Australian. I don't remember. But so there are good ones out there, because motherfucker's got a shit ton of experience. You know, real experience. And he was he made a living in singles clubs too, being the other man. You know, he'd go to the, you know, like those fucking swingers clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing that.
Yeah, Stoney said, I think there's a grain of truth to red pill dating advice, like don't be a nice guy or tender-hearted or anything, but Manosphere guys are delusional, old fat boomer truck drivers who think they can get 20-year-old bottles. Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a component of that, for sure. Yeah, I don't, like, some of the shit they say is not too, but the thing about it, though, is that I know that a lot of people want dating advice, and it's like, especially dudes that are like, you know, maybe younger, and they don't have a lot of experience, and they're just trying to navigate shit, which, you know, that's fair enough. But the thing about it is that you can't make a blanket statement about everything. Like, yeah, you can, like, statistically this might work and that might work and stuff like that, but it might not, because like I said, everybody's different. You kind of have to approach things on a one-on-one basis, I've always found, you know. I'm just saying. But yeah, so I'm gonna go to the bathroom because I didn't get to go, and make another drink. So
you make another one. Yeah.
So you can talk about something
All right.
for a minute.
Let's see what everybody's talking about.
And then we can maybe actually get into the topic.
We're still in the intro?
Yeah, well, I haven't even started my notes or anything.
Really? Okay, we're an hour in and we're just getting into the intro. Okay, so we got a pretty good crowd out there tonight. Stoney says, I think there's a grain of truth to red pill dating advice. Don't be a nice guy, tender-hearted, blah, blah, blah. But Manosphere guys are delusional. Old fat boomer truck drivers who think they can get 20-year-old models. Yeah, if that's, you know, I haven't really seen, I haven't really seen that particular situation where it's older guys. Most of the Manosphere stuff that I've come across is actually real young guys, a lot of them Christian or Christian adjacent, talking to OnlyFans girls and other, you know, just regular good-looking girls that are just kind of like off the street, that are as guests. And some of the guys kind of have, some of them kind of get way out of shape when it comes to a woman's body count. All right, I can understand that if you're trying to marry a woman and you're young and you want a young bride to start a family with, maybe body count might mean something, because she may not be able to bond with you as tightly, supposedly, theoretically, because she's now comparing you to all these guys that were much hotter than you that she struck out with. It's called being what they call a alpha widow, where these young girls are always comparing the guys she's with now to the dudes that were hotter that she lost, that she thinks she deserves. So there's something to that. But mostly I didn't worry about anything like that. I just fucking got what I could at the time, and I got pictures to prove it. You know, they're all cute. But when you get older, you don't quite worry about that the same way these young guys are. They want these young, very low body count girls so they can marry them and true love, and then they have children together, you know. Okay, yeah. All right. Chances are that's not how it's going to go down, though. You know. I always thought that it was best to wait if you're a guy. Wait till your late 30s, early 40s when you got something, when you have a little bit of fucking game to you, where you understand the situation a little bit better. Because when you're in your 20s and you're a dude, you're fucking dumb. You know.
I agree.
Yeah, and you can't really offer a woman in her 20s anything. You're not really a move up for her. You know, you can't help her. You don't have the money or the experience, you know. Now, if you're 38, 39, and you hook up with a 23-year-old girl, then I'd call her a girl, 23-year-old woman, yeah, you're a catch. You're a move up if you're hot, you know. You should be in a better place in your career versus her, so you can offer something. Marriage actually, in general, is transactional between normies. If you look at me and Jen, we didn't really have a normal relationship, which is like a good thing, because the normal relationship's kind of vanilla and kind of transactional, and they have a high failure rate. Me and Jen got together when we were both older. You know?
Yeah, I think I was 38 or 39 when I met you.
Yeah.
I'd been married before, and he had been married before.
Yeah, we both. Yeah, I was like 42.
I was married for a long time. I was married for 14 years.
Yeah, and I was divorced, but I wasn't married long, thank God. I was like a year or so, no kids or anything like that.
Yeah, me neither.
So by the time we had met each other, we were kind of over the hill as far as fucking children.
Yeah.
You're not really supposed to be thinking about family if you're a woman at 38. And if you're a guy in your early 40s, man, you're like, you passed that window. It's better to just live for ourselves. It sounds selfish, but
I never wanted kids anyway.
You start throwing kids in the mix. We're both kind of too old for that.
And like I said, it wasn't really, I don't know, like when I was younger, I might have gone that way, but I was just like, even when I was a teenager, I was just like, I don't think this is for me. And that, I never really changed
Kids
my
were
mind.
for you, it would have happened already.
That's what I mean. So it's just, it never really seemed like fun to me. It was just never, and like I said, I grew up around a lot of kids, so it's not like
my advice,
I didn't know what I was in for. I did. That's probably why I didn't want any.
My advice, if you're a woman, have kids 18, 19, 20, 21.
Well, I mean, not if you can't afford to have them. Don't do that.
I would say even if you can't afford them.
No,
just
don't do
it. Do it while you're young and dumb and have a whole bunch of energy to do it. Because I used to think, man, a friend of ours, they had several kids, and one of them, she was a little kid over at the house hanging out with us, and I've seen like a couple years later, she was pregnant, fucking married, and having, and it was like, you let that shit happen. She's 18. What can we do about it? And her mom, Jen, you guys have seen her. We showed her before. Jen, she's just beautiful goth woman. She goes, no, it's best that she gets it out of the way and gets it done early, like I did.
I mean, my mom had me when she was 18.
Yeah, you get it out of the way early. So you're making replacements for yourself, so when you die, there's somebody to take your place in the world, you know? And women are better at shaking it off early when they're young. They have the life force and the fucking energy to fucking raise children and shit. And then let them go when they're done. Like, okay, go, fly, be free.
And then they're still relatively
young,
and they can still like have a whole other life afterward. Yeah.
Jen kind of raised children already over her brothers and sisters,
Well, I mean, I have 3 younger siblings, and I had a fuck ton of cousins that were younger that were always over.
Yeah.
My parents ran a daycare at a place, and then like my mom ran one at our house.
Yeah.
So I was around like little kids all the time, and I don't know. Like I said, it was just never for me. I didn't have that. That's why I kind of get a little bit cranky when people say a maternal instinct. I'm like, it's not an instinct, or everyone would have it, and I don't. And I know a lot of people that don't. So it's like, it can't be that. But yeah, so it's just never appealed to me, and so I never did it. Like I said, and I've never regretted it. Not ever. Like, so it's like neat to think about. It's like, oh, what would have happened? But it's like, then I'd be like, that would have sucked. That would have sucked. I wouldn't have liked it. And because that's the thing, I was always just like, what if I did do it and then I hated it? You can't take it back. I mean, that's a person. So, you know, and that kid's going to know that you're not real into it. So it's just like, I don't even want to like wander into that minefield. Fucking hell. It's just, I didn't want to do it enough. And a lot of people don't. And that's okay. Yeah, Stoney said, Manosphere guys who claim I'm walking away from women, bro, women suck, and then rage on a live stream about women for 9 hours. I know, right? Like, gay guys don't want women either. I don't see them complaining. Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like, that's why the MGTOW dudes, I'm just kind of like, men going their own, yeah, we're going our, okay, bye. Bye. Go. Shut up. Like, I don't understand why they don't just go and shut up. Like, just go live your life then. Yeah. Why are you still crying about it? Nobody wants to hear you crying about it.
Yeah.
Just go.
Another thing is,
no one's going to miss you.
When you're talking about this, all these red pill guys, they don't really get it. I think in general they know, but they don't realize what they know the pitfalls and the dangers, but they don't know what the successes are. You really only want to be in a relationship with a woman who's like your bestie. She got to be your friend first. Me and Jen were hanging out. We were friends and kind of business partners while we were dating other people.
Yeah.
You know? And, you know, fucking, we didn't really, we weren't jealous or anything. That's just the way it was. We were seeing other people, and we were friends. And we started dating each other.
Well, I mean, because we
would sometimes hit too, though.
Yeah,
while we were friends, but we would, you know,
we hung out all the
fucking time. We had so much other shit in common, and we'd start talking and just wouldn't shut the fuck up.
And then, like, you know, we'd go out to the club sometimes, and like if neither of us was dating anybody, like we'd go out to the club, and then like like I'd stay over at his house. Yeah. Sometimes shit would happen, sometimes not. Yeah. And it's just, but we just kept hanging out, and then he kept coming over to my apartment.
Couldn't stay away from each other.
I kept coming over to his apartment, and like everybody we knew was like, "Would you guys just start dating for Christ's sake?" It's like,
when we did it now, so we just said, "Okay, we're a thing." And like, well, fucking finally. And then that shit went on for about fucking 12 years, and then we got married, and they were like, "Well, fucking fine."
Everybody said that.
We were
like, I got like 200
12 years.
I got like 200 comments, and like I think at least like 30% of them were like, "Finally." They were just waiting like this whole time. But it's just like super funny. But yeah, like I think that's and I think that's one thing that's good about getting older is that you understand that, you know, it's cool to be with somebody hot and that you're sexually attracted to, and that is like a big
part of it.
That is part of it. Yeah. But this is a person. It's like, are you going to be able to like hold this person's hair back when they have the flu and they're throwing up? Or are you going to have to like be at the hospital with this person when they're dying, like when something happens to them? Are you going to do boring shit with this person? Are you just going to like go to the grocery store and like navigate fucking health insurance with this person? Because that's mostly what you're going to be doing.
And a lot of these young red pill dudes from these fucking channels aren't looking at it from that point because they don't have that life experience yet. That a lot of it's mundane business work, business and paperwork, and fucking waiting on some papers and shit.
Yeah, it's just boring shit.
Trying to get a house and getting a loan for a house.
Right.
Business. It's more business than
calling somebody to fix the septic tank. It's like, it's shit like that. Right. You know what I mean?
And some of these guys go, "Oh, not me." Shit, that shit happened to even fucking John Lydon, aka Johnny Rotten. All right, he's taking care of his wife. She's got dementia. He's taking care of her, and
because that's what you do.
That dude is like the king of punk rock. All right, he's taking care of his wife because he fucking loves her. And she was a hot scene chick, but he's an American now, fucking taking care of a wife with dementia.
Because that's what you do.
That's what you're supposed to do.
When you love a person.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like bad shit happens.
Yeah.
life slaps everybody eventually. Like,
Yes.
bad shit happens to everybody, and you
Yeah.
have to, like, navigate that
A lot
shit.
of these younger generations, they're growing up online. Everything is about convenience. Everything's kind of transactional. That's not the way life is. Life is analog, and it's fucking not convenient.
Yeah.
It's so you got to go through that. All right.
Yeah. And that's why I kind of advocate, like, if you're going to marry a person, I got married at 22, so I can't really say it. And it worked out okay. Like, we got divorced, but we were married for 14 years, and it wasn't super acrimonious. It wasn't, like, a huge deal or anything. But I would advise getting married later, like, after you kind of know what you want. You kind of have your shit together. You're kind of, like, you know, in your identity, and you're just kind of like, this is the person I am, and this is the kind of person I want. And it's just kind of like... But one thing you have to consider is, like, is this a person that, like I said, you're going to be in the hospital with this person when they're dying? Like, are you okay with that? Like, are you going to arrange this person's funeral? It's like, I know that's morbid, but it's just like, that's how life works.
That's how it actually is.
That's what you have to...
Yeah, Erica Lynn says, look, what'd she say? She said she came from a culture where you're supposed to marry young and have kids, but it didn't happen, so now she feels like she's free of it. But we don't know what culture you're from, because... Yeah, but your name is Erica Lynn. I would think somewhere in the West. Where are you from exactly? Good. Oracle's here. What's up, Oracle?
Yeah, Larry says attraction is only a very small aspect of real love.
I don't say very small. It's about 1/3.
Yeah, probably.
Because that's the first thing you
or
see.
A third or a quarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's important.
Right.
You can't neglect it.
No.
But there's a lot of other stuff that... Because, you know... Like
Me and Jen don't go to shit, man. We fucking work out. Work out and take gear and shit.
Yeah.
Stay good. Stay fucking hot. We could sell this shit.
Yeah, Ira says we seem to get an extra sidetrack show. I mean, well, it's a kind of... We're just... I mean...
This
is
adjacent.
kind of tangential to what we're talking
because
about.
it's about dating. These chicks are trying to date serial killers.
Yeah, which,
fucking
like
crazy.
I said, it's kind of adjacent.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to justify it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I thought that this would bring up a lot of these kind of discussions, but that's okay. Because, like I said, it's kind of thing. Sony says, I think one of the most important pieces of dating advice that usually doesn't get mentioned, especially if you plan on marriage, is finding someone with genuine mutual sexual attraction and similar libido. Yeah, that is pretty important.
Not only that, it's similar interest, too.
Yeah.
Me and Jen came from the same subculture, so we
yeah.
had the similar culture, you know, in music and taste and things. It has a lot. So we can talk to each other. We know exactly what we're talking about, and like people from Don't Come from the God scene wouldn't know what we were talking about.
I kind of feel like most of the conversations we have, most people would not know
probably
what the
know what
fuck
we're
we're
talking
talking
about.
about. And the fact that we've been together for so long, it's like usually you'll be like that thing with the thing, and I know exactly what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
I think that happens with a lot of people that have been together a long time.
We don't even really have to talk that much.
Not really. I mean, we do, but it's like we don't have to because
we know what we're thinking.
Right. He'll just be like, the thing, the deal with the other day, and I'm just like, oh yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? I know what you're talking about. It's just funny. But okay, so
let's get to this shit.
Let's get back to like I said, it's kind of all adjacent. It's fine, and we'll kind of get back into that in a little bit because when we talk about the psychology behind this. So yeah, so okay, so I don't know if you guys know, but there are two kinds of hybristophilia. Now, one of these is the more passive hybristophilia, which is generally what we're talking about here. That's like women that are sexually obsessed with serial killers, that write to them, that go visit them, that ended up marrying them and stuff like that. Now, aggressive hybristophilia, that's kind of more what we're talking about when we're talking about serial killer couples and stuff like that, like women that actually go and do shit for the dude. Like they'll go and like help him bury bodies, or they'll even help him, like Karla Homolka, who helped her husband rape and kill her own sister.
Yeah, that was some weird shit.
Among other people.
Wait, which one was that?
Yeah, Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka.
Yeah,
we did a show about them.
It was kind of on accident, though, right?
No, well.
I thought she wasn't supposed to die. Wasn't she just supposed to get raped?
Like that's bad.
That was the plan.
Yeah, and then
but she died of an OD during it.
Yeah,
right.
But still, and they killed other people.
Then they had to cover it up.
But yeah, and I'm fascinated by serial killer couples. We've done like a lot of killer couple show. For a while, like every Valentine's Day, we did a serial killer couple show. So we've talked about Ian Brady and Myra Hindley. We've talked about Fred and Rosemary West. If you want to talk about the UK ones, we've talked about Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo.
Yeah.
We do a show about, who was that motherfucker that shit, now I can't remember what her name is, but the one that she actually like took a dude into a van and like beheaded him, like after he had done a bunch of shit, like her boyfriend had done it. But what the fuck was that dude's name?
I don't remember that.
I'll probably remember it later on. Then one of y'all might know what it is. Yeah, Larry's laughing that I said UK shit. Yeah, we've done, well, you know, I lived in the UK for a while, so it's just like, so I got fascinated by crimes. We did a Yorkshire Ripper show. We did British serial killer couples. We did all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the British crime profile, the profile of their crimes, the way they do shit's a lot different than in the United States.
I don't know if that's the case.
I think it is. It's because it's geography.
Well,
they're doing it in a higher population density. So the way they dispose of the bodies isn't kind of what you would do it out here, fucking in the country. You know, the shit that they do, it's odd. Like, why would you fucking kill 2 women and then try to bury them inside a false closet in your house and let all that damn stink? Well, it's because
I'm just gonna keep them right there.
They don't
so
know
I know
yeah.
where they are.
Yeah, they don't know anything about fucking rural areas where you can go bury some shit. You know what I mean? There's so many dead bodies buried out here in the United States. It's not fucking. You don't keep that shit in your damn house.
I mean, just for sanitary reasons.
Yeah, and
unless you're into that, like Jeffrey Dahmer was.
Yeah, and they're more UK. They're more urban. All right, so they don't come up with a woodsman background where they know how to field dress deer and kill game in the field, and you know, do field dressings, and then how to do butchering. You know what I mean? So they can't do it. They leave a fucking huge mess. Just fucking weird, you know.
Well, look at
a lot of the serial killers. Well, that kind of happens here too. But you can tell the difference between a country serial killer and a fucking urban serial killer.
Well, I mean, Gacy buried almost all of his victims like under his fucking house.
Yeah, because he was afraid to take them somewhere.
Although they didn't catch him for a long time, to be fair.
He
but look
lived
at
in
somebody
all that
like
shit.
Dennis Nilsson, who like all of it, like he got caught because he was flushing little pieces of his victims down the toilet, and like his downstairs neighbors were complaining.
Yeah, and that was another one. And he had half of a fucking rotten body in a closet
freak.
In there, if I remember, in a wardrobe. If I
That dude
remember
was a freak.
They're just.
We did a show about him too.
Yeah. They want to have these sexual desires and kill people, but they don't understand the basics of fucking how to deal with meat. You know, they don't have any food.
Don't give them any ideas.
No
God
food
damn.
service experience. no field hunting experience. They just, you know, they make a fucking mess, man.
Yeah, I mean, you know. SideQuest Hero said, "Do you think Aileen Wuornos' girlfriend falls in that category?"
Maybe.
Probably so. Yeah, I think maybe there is some of that. We did a show about her too, but. Is it even a different dynamic? I doubt it. I kind of feel like it's because there have been like same-sex couples that did this stuff too, even though heterosexual couples is a lot more common, obviously. But it's just kind of like, yeah, I think there was a bit of that going on with the Aileen Wuornos one. And then I was kind of thinking, somebody brought up Aileen Wuornos again, like Phantom did, married a senior citizen and laid down an ass whipping on him every night and cucked him out. Well, I was kind of looking, because look, I did a search on male hybristophiles, because there aren't a lot, or there at least aren't a lot that are in the literature, you know what I mean? Really the biggest, like the highest profile one that I could find was, there was a dude, and I'll kind of talk about him later, but where he fell in love with what's her face, one of the Manson family, Susan Atkins, and ended up like marrying her. He even went to like law school so he could help her out and stuff like that. But it's, well, I guess like because the dynamic is different. Well, one, just from a statistical standpoint, I mean, female serial killers are pretty rare as compared to male serial killers, right? So it's like there's not as many. And when there are female serial killers, they tend to not be the same pathology, and they don't get the same, other than Aileen Wuornos, which is really kind of the most famous one that you can think of. And honestly, yes, she's a serial killer, but her, like I said, her pathology wasn't the same. She didn't like prolongedly like torture these dudes or like cut pieces off of them or anything like that. She just shot them, you know what I mean? Which is still bad. They're still dead. I'm just saying that they don't, it's not the same reasoning behind it. And honestly, we've talked about this before too, is that female serial killers tend to be poisoners or angels of mercy type killers that kill babies or elderly or whatever, and they usually do it for quote unquote practical reasons, for money or whatever, whereas men will usually do it for sexual reasons. Not always, but that's usually what it is. So I kind of feel like the reason that you don't see as many hybristophiles that are men is that, one, there's not that many female serial killers, and the ones that we have are maybe not hot enough. I don't really know, but I don't know, the dynamic isn't the same, which we'll get into in a little bit when we kind of talk about the psychology behind this. But the thing about it, okay, so this is also called Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, which, like I said, I kind of feel that that applies more to women that actually accompany the men on their spree, whatever it is, which happens sometimes. But we've talked about this a lot too when we talked about killer couples, because like, how common is it, because there is like a lot of stuff in the literature too that does suggest that had these women been left to their own devices and hadn't met this dude, if they wouldn't have done the depraved shit that they did on their own, you know what I mean? So it needed to be like a synergy with this dude. But I don't think that's the case in all cases, but I think that's probably the majority of cases.
Cason's asking, who was the guy on Joe Rogan's show who was a guest, who turns out later he had a dead woman in his house? He said he was some kind of activist lawyer. I don't know who it is. Maybe somebody in the comments.
I kind of know what you're talking about, but I can't think of it right now.
That sounds good right there. That sounds weird. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, like shit. I remember somebody bringing that up, but I can't.
He's on the Joe Rogan show, and unbeknownst to everybody else, he's got a dead woman back in his house. That's weird.
I bet that happens like more often than you think.
Yeah.
Well, like, people could be watching us right now, and we could have all kind of dead bodies. We don't. We don't, seriously.
No, we got a new girlfriend on the way, though.
She's not a real.
She's
not a real person.
Bought
but
a badass sex doll. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
You're gonna see it soon.
I mean, it better be good for as much money as it.
French porn star guy fucking told me what to buy. Showed me what he had.
Yeah, we got advice.
He sent me a whole bunch of fucking photo shoots and shit of his dolls. He's got like 5 of them, but he said, "Get this one," and it's by Piper doll. It's a what do you call this shit? An aerial.
I don't know.
It's an aerial. That's the name of the model. And I realized that what they're talking about, it's named after Disney characters and shit. It's a Little Mermaid, and when she got her feet, her legs. That's what That's what the base model was originally supposed to be.
Okay.
The other one is Jessica Rabbit. You're gonna get a Jessica maybe too.
We'll see how this one works.
See what it's like. The first one, yeah.
I want to see what it looks like on camera and
yeah,
how easy it is to move around. And
see what you look like with it.
Yeah, because it's a lot smaller than me, so I don't want to look like a big.
Well, no, if we get the camera angles right and as long as the shot's correct, you probably wouldn't be able to tell much size difference. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, she's
close up.
She's not that much shorter than I am, but
she's little.
Yeah.
She's 4'8".
Which, like I said, I'm only like 5'2", so
yeah, so it's not that much smaller.
Yeah. Let's see. What did I just see that I wanted to answer? Oh, Larry said, how many non-caught serial killers out there? Yeah, that's the thing. They're not caught, so we don't really know. But there are a bunch of them out there. So.
I don't think Western
But it's
society,
not the same as it used to be.
Not the same as it used to be. I don't think Western society makes them in the same numbers as it used to. You still catch them every now and then. They're not making as many of them. I think internet is kind of stopping them from being created like the way they used to.
I kind of feel like the ones they catch now have usually been on the lam for like a long time. Like they've been killing people for a long time, and they haven't been identified for a long time.
The guys in the serial killer active range, which is teens and 20s, there's not as many of them as there used to be.
I mean, I kind of feel like there's not.
I think lead gasoline had something to do with it.
Yeah, and like I said, you're not the only person that brings that up.
Yeah.
Some people were talking, I was reading something that I don't remember where it was, but somebody was talking about like some stupid shit like some boomers did, and they're like, maybe it was on the lead gasoline. Maybe that's why they're like that. Well, because we always kind of talk about the whole serial killer heyday, which is like 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah, but violence, fucking per capita violence was back even in the 1800s, and they didn't have gasoline, but they were eating fucking out of cans, and the cans had been welded together with lead. You know, I'm talking about the sealant on the cans. On some of the cans was like a lead.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of lead in things. So I think lead poisoning.
I mean, that might
had a lot to do.
I'm sure that was a factor.
That might have had a lot to do with weird shit that was happening in the old West too. You know what I mean? A lot of those guys came from urban environments. They moved west. Not good nutrition and probably a lot of lead contamination, and they're fucking get a little bit of drink in them, and they get real fucking violent, fighting over fucking some card game or something.
True.
Being drunk and having guns, right? Fucking at easy grasp. Like you can have guns here in Florida. You can have them. You can carry them concealed without any license, but you can't take them into a place that's serving alcohol.
Which
alcohol and guns don't mix.
Absolutely not.
I wouldn't trust myself drunk
I would not trust
with
you
a gun.
either. Or me. I would
especially
also
with her around, because dudes fucking sometimes I gotta fight dudes because they're grabbing her. You know what I mean? And one thing leads to that, and then it's me versus 5 dudes, and I fucking pull the guns and kill them. You know
Well,
what I mean?
honestly, if I had
Yeah.
a knife or something like
Yeah,
that, I
so-
probably wouldn't trust myself either.
It had
If
a
I
lot
was
to do
drunk
with
enough.
it had a lot to do with like
I'd
fucking
probably stab your ass too.
Wyatt Earp and all those guys. You know, fucking OK Corral. Alcohol had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, they're probably like all drunk off their ass, and they're just like, "Man, fuck you, pal." And it's like, because you're
Well,
not really thinking
drunk
about
and fighting.
long-term consequences.
Yeah, right.
You just pull the shit out. You're not thinking. That's
Yeah.
kind of the whole point.
Emotion.
Yeah. Talking about female serial killers, Larry says maybe women are smarter and harder to catch. It could be that, or like I said, just female serial killers tend to have a different MO.
It's not
Which
sexual.
does make them harder to catch, because usually they'll do shit like, "Hey, I'm a nurse and I'm just gonna inject this stuff into
Yeah.
this person's like IV
Yeah.
bag." You know what I mean?
They tend
That
to be angels of
or
death.
smother babies
Smother
or
baby.
something like that. So it's just like, and it's harder to catch them because
Yeah.
it's not as
Can't
obvious.
get 'em. They tend to be angels of death.
Yeah. Or
Which
like I
is
said, or
some
they
shit-
tend to like poison people or something. And I was saying earlier that female serial killers, and this is backed up by the literature, they're overwhelmingly their motive is usually quote unquote practical. It's usually financial. They're
Profit.
for profit.
Then they justify it. They say, "Well, this person's sick anyway,
Yeah. That's
and
exactly.
we're just going to speed it up some, and I'm going to take him out,
Yeah, they're gonna die anyway.
and I'm going to alleviate this person's fucking
Suffering,
which is euthanasia."
Yeah.
The thing is, they're doing it to people who aren't going to die,
Right.
but they're
Or
convinced
who
that
aren't
person's
okay
going
with
to die.
it.
That's why you got to be real skeptical. I don't have any problem with euthanasia when it's called for. But they got people out there that just will do euthanasia because they're going to be paid for it. Like up in Canada, they're euthanizing kids because they're depressed and they want to die. Well, I said, well, you're going to kill yourself anyway, so we might as well make that money. No, don't do that. That's fucking corrupt. Let that person kill themselves if they really want to go. Don't fucking try to make money. You hear about that?
No.
They're doing that in Canada. They euthanize some kids for depression because they're going to kill themselves anyway. Yeah. Evidently, okay. Don't believe me then. But
I don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
they euthanized a kid for depression because they were committing suicide or were going to commit suicide.
Sabrina says,
You don't believe me? I'm gonna find it.
Sheldon Johnson was the name of that guy from the Joe Rogan show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
You remember hearing about that?
Kind of, but no, I mean the Sheldon Johnson thing.
Oh, okay.
Zach says they seem to have been replaced by the mass shooter. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's more common nowadays. Kandak says, didn't Howard Stern have a serial killer call his show once? Probably, but I don't know. And Larry says there might be the same amount of serial killers, but they maybe just got smarter. Maybe. I mean, there is a lot of like true crime media, and so definitely people know more shit about getting rid of bodies and shit like that. Yeah, Larry said, we've had our fair share of horrible nurse killers in the UK. Yeah, we did a show, I don't remember how long ago it was, but we did one that was like an Angels of Mercy type show. I think we talked about 4 different, it was 2 men and 2 women that were doctors or nurses or whatever, and for whatever reason, and I don't even think it was, most of it was for a profit. I think they just kind of got off on a god complex that they could kind of like control when people were going to die or whatever. But you know what I mean. Case and Lee says Lizzie Borden got away because she was too beautiful for the judges, not saying she actually did the murders. Yeah, I'm not really sure. We did a show about Lizzie Borden not too long ago. I kind of lean towards she probably did it, but I don't know, though. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff saying that maybe she did it, and then there's a lot of stuff saying maybe she didn't do it. So I'm not entirely sure. But, you know, I can kind of see where, especially back then, they thought women couldn't do that kind of stuff. They absolutely can, but it is a lot rarer. So, you know, they did know that. But yeah, so where was I? Okay, so as I said, Bonnie and Clyde syndrome, like I said, that's usually more applied to the kind of more couple thing, where, or more what they would call aggressive hybristophilia, where someone who's actively involved. But more passive hybristophilia, which is obviously a lot more common, these are women that are sexually attracted to essentially violent criminals, like people that are on death row and stuff like that.
That's what I was talking about.
Okay, can I get back to the topic
They got
now,
some
or
of them, but...
Can I get back to the topic now?
Yeah.
We've been on for such a long time.
All right,
I did
all right.
so much research on this,
Ted was
and
good.
I'm right there.
Okay, all right.
I haven't even got into
right.
this. It's just like you're just going off on all these tangents that don't matter. And you're kind of making me mad. All right.
Listen.
You're kind of making me mad. It's like, well, I did like hours and hours of research on this.
Get to it.
Thank you. Finally. All right. So why do women like true crime? We kind of talked about this before, because I do feel like dudes like true crime too, obviously, but it's just kind of like, I feel like it's a woman thing, like all these women that are into true crime. And we talked about this before, because I said, I know, like, Tom doesn't like to watch true crime. I do, though. I'll watch it for hours and hours. It bothers me, but not enough for me to stop watching it. And I don't think that there's necessarily anything nefarious in it. Like, I don't think there's anything, you know, people are like, oh, you know, women, they have this dark side, which they do, but it's just, I don't think there's anything to, like, to be afraid of or anything like that. It's just that I think that women like to watch it as kind of like, I think somebody brought this up on another show that we were talking about, like maybe like a survival mechanism, because you're kind of like looking at other situations that could happen to you. And so you're kind of analyzing it like, well, you know, this person that killed me, it's like, could I have, you know, done something different, or, you know, would I have recognized the red flags, or, you know, it, like I said, it's just like a survival kind of thing. So I think that that's maybe why. And also I think it's maybe the same reason that people watch horror movies, because you can kind of indulge your dark side with it being safe. You know what I mean? Because it's like, you know, obviously true crime, that's what that happened to somebody, but it didn't happen to you. So you can watch it and like not get a whole kind of thing. You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like that's maybe why a lot of women like true crime also. Now, obviously, some women take this to a little bit of an extreme, to the point where they get obsessed with serial killers. There are whole Facebook groups, there are whole subreddits, there are whole everything of women that are super into serial killers, and just will go on there going on and on about how hot they are, and like write them letters. And it doesn't even have to be serial killers either. It could be mass shooters, terrorists, like anybody that is notorious for something, like even fucking the Unabomber, like Ted Kaczynski. He's got like a bunch of fangirls and shit like that too, which is crazy. But anybody that is notorious for that reason generally has like a fan club, which is fucked up, but you know, humans are the way they are. So what are some of the reasons maybe why some women might feel this way? And like I said, it's not, but it's, I feel like it's kind of a lot of women like true crime, but hybristophilia is fairly rare. So let's go back to Catherine Ramsland, very famous forensic psychologist, who pretty much any documentary that you watch about serial killers, she's going to be on it, like talking about it. And she's kind of done a study about this, and she's like, she did a bunch of interviews with all different women that had dated serial killers or married them or were obsessed with them or something like that. And she's like, and these were a lot of the reasons that they gave. So this is like self-reporting. Basically, one of the main things, low self-esteem, which probably should be obvious, and lack of a father figure. So again, daddy issues, which you see with a lot of this kind of behavior. Zach brought up earlier, there's kind of a thing where women think that maybe they can fix this person, and fixing someone as powerful, quote unquote, as a serial killer, that's like a big sense of accomplishment for them. So there you go. And then there's like kind of the nurturing aspect a little bit. And I kind of brought this up earlier, where sometimes a woman will see the serial killer and it's like just thinks of him as like the little boy that was abused and he didn't have a chance, and so they just want to take care of him, so because they can perceive him as he was before he became a monster, so they feel like they can fix this person or they can help him. Now a couple of them are kind of mercenary and they just kind of like, well, they're famous, so they just want to get in the spotlight or write a book about him or whatever, which, like I said, that's a little bit more understandable. I feel like it's mercenary for sure, but you know, I can understand that more than the other shit. And then there's what they call the notion of the perfect boyfriend. Because this dude is in prison, she always knows where he's at.
He can't cheat on her.
He can't cheat on her.
Yeah.
She can do whatever she wants without having to like check in with him or anything. Yeah. And she doesn't have to deal with like day-to-day relationship shit. Like, I don't have to wash his clothes. I don't have to clean up after him. I don't have to deal with him every day.
It's like the reverse version of the fucking Charles Lang and Leonard Lake and Charles Ning, where they just thought they could just keep a woman captive and just when they were done with her, put her back up on the fucking shelf.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It's just kind of like... So, but I feel like for women, it might be more like a fantasy thing. Yeah. Where it's like they have a relationship, like, and this person supposedly loves them, like, just through letters and stuff. Yeah. But it's like they can visit him when they want to.
Yeah, they have total power.
Yeah, he's not there all the time, like, breathing down your snorkel, and it's just, you know what I mean?
If you want to hook up some dude, he'll never know.
Right, like, he'll never know about it. So, like, you can do whatever you want, with, like I said, without him, like, being there all the time. Right. And the thing about it, too, is that, as I mentioned earlier, the vast majority of women that are real into serial killers like this should probably come as a surprise to no one, had been abused by their dads or their husbands or other male figures in their lives. And so the attraction to this incarcerated person might stem from the person being similar to their abuser, because that's what they know, but they're in a place where they can't hurt them. So the woman feels for the first time that she has control over the situation, which she never felt before. Like I said, if she'd been sexually, physically, emotionally abused by her dad or, you know, another male or her husband or whatever, you know what I mean? That's all she knows. Now she's in a relationship with this person and she's familiar with it because it's the same dynamic, but he's not there. Like, he can't beat on her. He can't. So she's got all the power. So I can kind of see that too. It's sad, but I kind of see where they're coming from. Other factors that a lot of women that have hybristophilia demonstrate, social isolation is another big one. Low levels of education. This is not true across the board, but you know, it's largely true. Childhood feelings of rejection or estrangement. That's another big thing. Some have said they thought that maybe there was something where they were like narcissist enablers. That was another thing.
Damn, he says, "Hey, you're selling this dating a man in jail thing to me now." To me now.
What now?
Listen to what Tabby said.
Where?
He says, "You're really selling this
dating man in jail thing to me."
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. So, I will note, and I was listening to a podcast earlier with this guy. I can't remember what his name was, but he wasn't technically a serial killer. He was more like a hitman type dude. He killed a lot of people, evidently, and he was in prison in
Colombia, wasn't it?
I don't know if it was Colombia. It was somewhere in Central America, maybe. Maybe it was Costa Rica. I don't remember where it was. He was American, but he was in jail for that. And he kind of seemed like a douche. He was like real full of himself and everything. And he had a whole Facebook group of like fans that he called his hoes, obviously.
His hoes, yeah.
I mean, they called themselves that too because they have no self-respect, I guess. But you know what I mean. So, but they would come and visit him, and I guess they have conjugal visits there, so he could bang them. And he was sure, I banged lots of hot ladies, blah blah blah. And you know, it was that kind of. He didn't say exactly that, but almost. So I don't know. I don't know what he looks like, but he sounded kind of like a douche. But he just sounded real full of himself. So which tracks with like kind of psychopath type of people.
Yeah, but they're not actually serial killers though.
Yeah, this guy was not. But he was saying that he was surprised, and I thought this was interesting because he thought he's like, well, when I first started getting all these letters from these ladies, I thought they were all gonna look like big fat trailer trash type thing, is what he said.
Yeah.
But he's like, when a lot of them showed up, they were actually like hot,
Attractive,
and they're like normal and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And the thing about it is that there are a significant percentage of like women that, you know, date or marry serial killers or write to them or into them or stuff like that, are on the surface at least are, you know, physically attractive. A lot of them have like, you know, they're lawyers or doctors or something like that, and they seem like well adjusted. But like I said, the overwhelming majority is like, they usually have some kind of trauma or some kind of abuse in their past. Not always, because, you know,
I can understand women being more attracted to a hitman, though. I can't really understand being attracted to a serial killer.
yeah.
They're fucking weird. Like there's a documentary called Cocaine Cowboys about here in Florida, and they have a hitman in that one. They interview him. He tells his story, and you know he killed a lot of people, but he was a normal guy and good-looking guy. He had girlfriends, real success, a lot of money, and the only woman I believe he killed his friend's wife because she was going to go to the feds. But everything was about business. It wasn't anything sexual, and it was fast, just shooting people. And he was not the same kind of person a serial killer is. A lot more normal, a lot more like a professional soldier. The mentality. Because when you think of what they were doing is when you look at a cartel hitman, they're mostly killing other people inside the cartel. They're kind of like the cartel's version of a cop or law enforcement. These dudes are fucking doing bad shit. They're in the cartel. They're ours. We're gonna kill them. Or you know what I mean? Or they're in another cartel. We're gonna kill them. So they weren't doing it to civilians. You know. So, just saying, it's a different kind of person. It's a different thing.
Yeah, it's a different. They're still killing people, but it's a different pathology.
And the kind of guy that does it is a very different kind of person than, say, a serial killer.
Serial killers will do it for free just because they like it.
A serial killer is a serial rapist. He's a sex offender. He's just killing the victims. That's all. There's a big difference to that and a hitman.
Yeah, Larry said, I don't know, I love horror movies, but I don't really like true crime as much. I think women like it more than men because a lot of men see themselves as protectors. You know, it's hard to see that shit. The weird thing about it, though, is that, you know, women are generally, like, protectors of children, but I don't know, like, I watch true crime all the time where, like, kids get murdered, and it bothers me, but I can still watch it. I don't know why that is. I can't really explain it.
Female serial killers, their main victims are children and old people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, like I said, other than Aileen Wuornos, who killed dudes, but she just, like I said, she didn't do anything sexual to them. She just shot them.
Yeah.
Quite the same. Because they pissed her off. So it wasn't really the same.
Oh, she was almost kind of like a dude who'd robbed a lot of stores and killed the
she
cashiers.
seemed more like that.
More
she
like
seemed
that.
like less like a serial killer, as like someone that would just like
go
stick
into a
up
store and stick the place up and
liquor
shoot the damn cashier.
Right.
You know,
but like I said, practical reasons. She wasn't
Yeah.
doing it for like sexual reasons or anything like that. Generally, like I said, people were just pissing her off, so she just shot him. You know what I mean? It's like it's a completely different thing. I found this 2004 study, and this is a quote from it. It said it found that, quote, in general, women who become involved with incarcerated men, not just serial killers, but anybody that's, you know, incarcerated for a long time for violent crimes, were previously in problematic marriages and experienced alcoholism, drug abuse, violence, infidelity, and sexual deviance within their family unit. So, like I said, from everything that I read before, about 80% of, from what they could determine, have some kind of thing in their past that makes them go. But like I said, some people are kind of seemingly normal and still do this kind of stuff. So yeah, I will note too, and we kind of, you know, danced around this earlier. Several studies have shown that women that are attracted to your so-called psychopathic traits, because I know that's kind of a big thing where it's like, oh, women like psychopaths or bad boys or whatever. But most studies have shown that women that are attracted to these so-called psychopathic traits tend to either exhibit some of these traits themselves, like have the same kind of pathologies themselves, or turn up on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Like they're very submissive, or they're very super introverted or super sensitive or something like that. There's no in between. Like women that are in between don't usually go for those types of dudes. According to the majority of studies, psychologically healthy women are not generally attracted to psychopaths, at least not for long-term relationships. Also, here's another thing too, like, which is kind of related to, you know, the dude is in prison and he can't cheat on you, blah, 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 like, other than with, you know, Big Bubba or whatever. But,
Big Bubba.
I'm just... But for some women, there might be kind of like a romantic, almost like a courtly love aspect to it. Because they're like, well, this is a dude in prison. He's not going any place. Like I said, he doesn't have a job, or he doesn't really have anything else to think about.
Yeah. There's not going to be much sex.
He thinks about you all the time. He can spend all this time writing romantic letters to you, and you're always on his mind. and for these types of women, like, sometimes the inability to have sex with them, because sometimes you can't if they're on death row or whatever, is kind of like, that's good. You know what I mean? It's almost kind of like a pining away. Like I said, like a courtly love type of thing, like the opposite.
Yeah, the illusion can't be shattered.
Yeah, and I think that that's a big... Yeah. I think we really can't discount how important that is for, like, some kind of women, because this is a dude... Yeah, he's a murderer. Everyone's got flaws. No, but I mean, he can't disappoint you. Like I said, you can't, like, walk in on him bonking your sister. You can't... like I said, you don't have to, like, pick his socks up off the floor again. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, so he's always going to be there. It's a little bit akin to, you know, being in love with, like, a rock star or a movie star or something like that. And it's just, like, having this whole fantasy about it, because they can't disappoint you. You don't know them. You don't have to live with them. So it's like they can't let you down, I guess. It's just like it's just a weirder person to fixate on, obviously.
I can see it.
But yeah, but when you put it, like, when it's put that way, I kind of understand it. But I still don't really get it, but I kind of understand where certain... But to me, that mindset is more adolescent. And, like, I'm not the only person that says that. It's I kind of feel like a lot of the women are kind of, like, a little bit arrested.
Yeah.
Where they're just kind of like...
They the teenage phase.
Right, like, they don't want, like, an actual... Like I said, like a day-to-day relationship where you actually have to... put in work and, like, do stuff, and
it's a fantasy relationship.
It's a fantasy relationship, and nothing, that dude's not getting out.
Right.
So it's like, so you don't have to ever think, you know, this is never going to be, like, a real thing. So it's always, like, far away. So I kind of get, because there's a certain type of woman, what do they call it, like, love avoidant or something like that, where it's like they kind of want love, but they don't actually want, you know, the boots on the ground kind of reality of it. And that's kind of like a thing that they can just have. It's like, look, this dude loves me and he writes to me every day and stuff like that, but you don't have to, like, do anything about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't have to look at his face every day.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do shit for him, or you don't, you know, you just go to visit him every couple weeks or however often. And he just, like, talks about how much he loves you and stuff like that, and then it's over. Then you can go home and do what the fuck you want.
Everybody's looking at you because you're fucking talking to a famous serial killer.
That too. I mean, I kind of feel like there's a fame aspect to it as well. Like I said, I think it's the same. I was watching a really interesting video earlier. What was her name? I think she was called Sex Nerd. But she was talking about, they did a study of similarities between, like, fan groups of... They were mostly talking about fan groups of, like, mass shooters, like the Columbine killers and the dude that shot up the Aurora, the movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. Because they all have fan clubs, which is fucked up, but okay.
I knew a girl that was into some shit like that online. Jenny knows who I'm talking about.
Mm. Yeah. But so there's that, and they were comparing it. The study was comparing these two fandoms, if you want to call it that. To, like, celebrity fandoms, like, you know, Facebook groups of, like, girls that were really into Ryan Gosling or whatever. And she's like, and the weird thing about it was that it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of similar because these are, like, dudes that are unattainable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously in different ways.
Ryan Gosling.
But
there are chicks there are Ryan Gosling chick clubs.
yeah.
I didn't know Ryan Gosling was appreciated like that.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
I can't remember. There was one other.
Like
there was one. It was Ryan Gosling and shit. What was the other? I can't remember what the other group was. But it was
Jason Momoa.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
A lot of chicks like Jason Momoa. His juicy ass. What are you doing, Pope?
Stop it.
Stop it.
I mean, you know.
Yeah.
Erica says.
I can see Jason Momoa, but fucking Ryan Gosling.
I think Ryan Gosling is hotter than.
You think
Jason
he is?
Momoa.
You think so? To me, he just looks kind of.
Jason Momoa is pretty hot too, but I don't know. They're completely different.
Okay.
They're both hot. It's
Because
fine.
Gosling to me just kind of seems generic. You know, I'm not a woman, so I don't see what you see. You know, I'm not seeing the same.
Well,
thing.
I'm not like a huge fangirl or he's a good actor though.
Yeah, he was great in fucking Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking great. But he just looks kind of generic to me.
I don't, like I said, I'm not in any fangirl type, like, I'm old, yo, and it's like, I don't do that shit. I'm not, like, fucking 16. But, I don't know. If I was, it would probably be more for somebody like, I don't know, the dude from Alien Sex Fiend or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know what I mean? I'm just pulling something out of my ass.
Let me ask my gays. Zach.
Let me ask my gaze.
Zach, Ryan Gosling or fucking Jason Momoa? You put it in, drop it in there.
Victor
If you're gay, you just tell
Victor
me.
says Ryan Gosling is hotter. Jason
Yeah.
Momoa aged too much too fast.
Okay.
I just saw.
Who said that?
Victor did.
Okay.
One of your gays.
Did one of my gays said that? Oh, okay.
Larry says, "Ha ha ha, alien text me." I
Yeah.
mean, you know what I mean. It's just kind of like I don't know if necessarily, but I'm more of like into goth dude type thing. So I don't know. Like I said,
he's bi here. He says Ryan Gosling. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, so
Okay. I got a whole army of gays and bis out there. A whole army, loyal to me.
You know,
Yeah.
loyal. They kill for me if I ask.
That's my fan group.
I'm just saying, like, if somebody put a gun to my head
Yeah.
and said, you have to pick who's hotter,
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling or Jason, but, like, I don't really care either way. Like, they're both fine. Like, I've liked both of their movies and stuff. Like, I don't really think about them all that much.
Yeah.
But if you put a gun to my head and said I had to pick, I'd probably say Ryan Gosling.
As a straight dude, I just look at those two, and I'd say, as a straight dude, I would say fucking Momoa. You know, it's definitely.
Yeah, but you're a straight dude.
I'm a straight dude. That's what I would assume that Momoa would win. 'Cause He's
No.
fucking big, long hair. He's handsome, and he seems very friendly. So I would think that he would win. He seems like he's friendly. He can whip somebody's ass.
Sure.
I would say the same thing about Rock. These fucking island motherfuckers. These big juicy island motherfuckers, bro. Tell you what, it's got good genetics.
I
up there.
think dudes are more into, like, big muscle
big,
dudes
and
than
big
women
and
are.
physical power. Yeah, maybe.
Like, some women like that. I'm not just
Yeah.
saying. But I'm just saying, in general, I think
Yeah.
other muscle dudes are
I think-
into big muscle dudes.
Yeah, I think-
more.
well,
And gay dudes are more into muscle dudes,
Yeah.
generally,
I think men tend to value.
than women are.
I think men tend to value physicality, physical power more than women do. Just because our problems are solved with that, so we assume that women would like that too. You know.
Well, and we've talked about that before, which is
Right.
exactly why a lot of dudes send women dick pics.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, I would really like it if a woman would send me a picture of her boobs.
Right,
So
yes,
I'm
I'm gonna
going
send
to
a dick pic,
get
right.
the ball rolling.
Exactly.
Get the balls rolling.
It makes perfect sense to a straight man.
And like women are like, what the fuck?
But
like,
it doesn't work. That's not the way.
No.
Women but if a straight man who's not
It doesn't work at
introspective
all.
and doesn't think about it,
It doesn't work
wouldn't
at all.
work. No.
We're just and a lot of
Yeah.
women are like mystified. They're like, what
Yeah.
the fuck is this? Why?
Yeah,
And then
but-
you just get blocked. And
Okay.
then they get mad.
Okay, but look, women do the same thing. All right, but they do it in a different way. I was watching a video about, from a Swedish guy. He's a good-looking guy who got jacked, and he made a video about how the world changed for him when he got fucking jacked. He said that he started getting the female equivalent of dick pics, but they don't send a dick pic. They don't send a coochie pic. They
Well, no,
send
that's
they send a really good photo of themselves that is suggestive,
Sure.
but
I
it's
can
never
see
the
that.
opening line.
No.
They have to come up with an excuse of why they're sending you this picture.
Exactly.
Okay.
You can't just drop that on somebody.
No.
Come on.
And
That's like so
usually,
tacky.
and because he's fit, what they do is they says, "I'm trying to work on my this and that. I'm doing if and then they send the pictures. Says, "Am I too fat?"
Yeah, you have to have a justification. I
Right.
get that.
If that was a dude, it would have been a dick pic.
Yeah, they wouldn't even say hi or nothing.
Right? Yeah.
Like I said, I've opened
So-
my Facebook messages and they're
Right.
just a dick. I'm like, who the
Yeah.
fuck are you?
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. I don't even know what your face looks like.
Right.
And
I
here's
must,
your dick.
I must
Okay.
admit, I've only been jacked for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah. Women treat you differently, but really, you know who made the biggest difference was dudes. The way dudes treat me is fucking night and day.
Yeah.
I raised my voice in the fucking biker bar, and they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What was that, sir? Okay, yeah, oh yeah, sure. They're more likely to agree with you. They're more likely to respect what you say. They're more likely to like you. They're more likely to want to buy you a drink and hang out with you. Much more. It was weird. These are straight dudes. They're just other biker guys. They'll gravitate towards a guy who's more jacked. It's just male instinct, I guess. It's not sexual.
Yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting.
No, it's not sexual, but the biggest difference is just the way dudes treat you. If I say something, they just go, yeah, right. But before you jack, you say something like, yeah, nah. They'll disagree.
Right. We don't have to listen to you. You can't punch me.
Yeah.
So why should I listen to anything?
Right,
you have to say?
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, Erica's laughing that I said I don't even know what your face looks like. Yeah, I've had that happen. Like, it's not super often, but every now and then I'll open my Facebook messages and, hey, Dick. And I'm just wait, who are you?
There was a time
I don't know this person.
There was a time, this is a couple years back, where Jen just got hit with nothing but Indian dick pics.
Yeah, what was that about?
I don't know. It's a weird thing. But it has something to do with the way Facebook worked.
It must have been like, I must have come up in the algorithm, like suggested for ones.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, hey, that looks like a girl that would like to see my penis.
Yeah.
I would not. Like I said, girls are not, like, women in general. Like, penises are nice and everything, but it's just kind of like, we're not, like, dudes I feel like are more, like, obsessed with, like, body parts. Women are not really like that. It's just like, okay, it's a dick. Like, who is it attached to? Are you a cool person? Like, I'll like it if it's a cool person that it's attached to, but just that part is not telling me anything. It's just very weird and objectifying, and I don't really get it.
Yeah, there's goes Indian dick. Yeah, Indian. Weren't they Indian and Pakistan?
Yeah. There was, I don't know what, that was a couple years back.
A couple years back, and it only lasted for about a week or so, didn't it?
Yeah, a week or a couple weeks. Well, like I said, it's weird because I'm not the only person that's experienced this.
Other girls were saying the same thing. Where are these Indian dudes coming from?
Like right around, like I said, I kind of feel like whatever algorithm they had going on, they're like, hey, we're going to put your name in the suggestion for this other thing. Like, I don't really know if anybody did it on purpose, but it's really, really weird. Stoney says women are not like men at all in terms of sexual psychology. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences too.
It manifests differently. Yeah.
And but you know, I like that Larry said it's not that difficult to see it from a gal's point of view. Like, I would have thought not. Like, it seems very obvious, but like I said, I'm not. You know, I've never been a dude, so I don't really know. But to me, it seems very obvious. Like, why would you just send a picture of your dick? Like I said, I don't know who you are. Like, what exactly are you hoping to accomplish? I'm not offended. I'm just baffled. That's all. It's just like, why? Like, what? Okay. But yeah, I don't really get it. I don't get what the thinking is behind it, if indeed there is any thinking. So yeah, because like Tom said, like, yeah, girls will do that too, like kind of a suggestive picture, but they'll like lead up to it. If they like a dude, they don't want to seem like, hey, here's a picture of my tits. Like, nobody would do that. That's like, I don't know. It's just, it's too overt. And it's like, you have to kind of gauge, is this dude going to be receptive to this? Is he going to reject me? Is he's like this and that? So it's like, you kind of have to like go into it like slowly, like, hey, like, how are you doing, blah blah blah, and then you talk for a little while. It's like, I'm gonna like send you a bit of like, I got this new outfit and I'm not really sure like how it looks, can I get your like opinion on it, blah blah blah, like that kind of stuff. You have to have like some kind of backup. That's all. Like, I get that. I don't really get just sending somebody you don't know a dick pic. That's like fucking, that's mystifying. It's just mystifying. Women are mystified all over the world by that. So please don't do it. CB said, my view is if you want to fuck someone, just do it. Well, yeah, I mean, as long as they also want to fuck you, don't just do it if they don't want to do it, obviously. But yeah. Victor says, early 90s Keanu Reeves literally made me gay. I could see that.
Man, everything made that dude gay.
I'm sure. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't really... Tammy says, personality, if you can make me laugh, you get more attractive. Yeah, exactly. If you're nice to animals, you get more attractive. That too. I love a cat dad. You know? I love dudes that love cats. So it's like because I see a lot of cat videos on my Facebook because that's what I always stop on. So it's like if I see one that has kind of like an okay looking dude with a cat, I'm just like, that dude is like instantly like more attractive. I'm like, look, he loves his kitty. That's awesome. I love that. Chicks love that shit. They do. Yeah, Larry says basically women have more nuance and are more sensual, whereas dudes are like, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And I think that's kind of why a lot of problems arise, is because dudes are just very like, you know what I mean, and women are kind of like, bro, can we just like fucking, you know what I mean? It's, you know, I don't know. I read a thing once that said
it's not all dudes.
No, and I would never suggest that.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like, I read a thing once that said dudes are more like a hammer, whereas women are more like a Swiss Army knife. Like we have like a bunch of shit going on at one time, and they just have one thing. But you know, that's obviously not universally true across the board. But I can see
dudes
where
who are at the entry level do stupid shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Unprovoked dick pics, as if that's going to do something. But some of those guys are also kind of like the internet version of a flasher. He's getting off of the fact that she just saw it, or maybe saw it.
Yeah.
He's fantasized that she saw it. He wasn't trying to get her. That kind of weird shit.
I mean, why are you sending me a picture of toothpicks? What's that all about?
Yeah.
Looks like a dick, only smaller.
Go back and you go, that's just fucking little as fuck.
That's what I usually think.
That's just little as fuck.
Is that a dick? And it's like, I've never seen one that small.
God damn.
But see, the thing about it, though, is that when we used to do live streaming, there are a significant portion of dudes that get off on you talking about how small their dick is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. A lot of our clients on stream, mate, though, the ones that were going cam to cam, because they want you to see them and shit, we were expecting that these would be fucking some nasty old fucking dudes and shit. Nah, every one of them was a fucking, basically a bisexual fucking fitness dude. He was stacked. Looked great. And that's part of the reason why he's turned the camera on.
Yeah.
They want praise. Which I understand it.
Either it's that, or it's dudes that have like tiny dicks, and they want you to make fun of it.
And if you say, no, that's not that bad, you're not giving him what he wants.
Yeah.
He wants you to go, that's
he wants you to
pitiful.
like berate him about it.
Yeah,
like about how pitiful
yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Fucking funny.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah. Best dudes to do a show for were like bisexual European guys.
Yeah.
Fucking great. British guys.
Easily.
Fucking great. All polite and shit.
TB said a guy in the UK just got a prison sentence for sending dick pictures. I mean,
UK prison people.
I'm not averse.
No. How much time did they give him?
Well, we'll see.
How much time did they give him? No.
SideQuest Hero gotta go.
Okay.
She says, "Love you guys, love the show, but I gotta go to bed early.
All right.
Gotta go to bed early day tomorrow."
Okay.
All right. We haven't even I mean, we're kind of into the topic. Like I said, we're just talking around it. Okay. So another thing that I found was that women who are attracted to serial killers tend to be in the age range of late 20s to like late 40s or early 50s. They usually are super protective about the relationship, like I said, and it's kind of hit or miss whether, because some of the women absolutely know that the serial killers that they're corresponding with or marrying or whatever did what they're accused of. Some of them are kind of delusional to this, you know, to the degree where they're like, oh, well, they're completely innocent and they're being railroaded or whatever. You know, even though you give them a lot of evidence to the contrary. So there is some, like, delusion on the thing, too. Now, let's talk a little bit about, we kind of brought this up a little bit earlier, but, like, some shit from evolutionary psychology, which I kind of want to dig into a little bit. So there is a theory that, you know, certain women, obviously, might like, you know, aggressive males, but because they see a serial killer or a violent criminal as like the epitome of that, like larger than life, that might be like even better than like an ordinary aggressive dude. You know what I mean? So it's like an extreme. You know, it's like this will not only give me status, obviously, because this person is like infamous, but also like protection. This dude would, you know, hurt all these people, kill all these people, but not me, you know, which I think that's kind of a big thing too. Now, there was a book that came out, which is called A Billion Wicked Thoughts, What the World's Largest Experiment Reveals About Human Desire, written by a couple of computational neuroscientists. And this was kind of taking an evolutionary psychology, like, look at it. So, as I said, most of their data came from the internet, as in Google searches, the amount of like erotica that was bought and things like that. So, not. I guess it's kind of indicative, but not like super, super indicative of what people are really doing in their actual lives.
Listen to Erica's nice comment about you.
What? Jenny has a great ASMR voice to fall asleep to.
Yeah.
Do I really?
That's a huge compliment because I put on other YouTubers to fall asleep to. Mine is fucking always Event Horizon. Fucking
Yeah,
that dude's got a fucking.
He's
great
got a
voice.
good voice. Yeah,
He's talking about science the whole time. I'm broing out with him about fucking stellar physics and
he's
shit.
broing out.
Yeah, that's like that's right. He's talking about fucking UAP and fucking yeah. I like science. Science, bitches.
Science.
And he's a science fiction writer, and he has
Yeah.
real scientists on as guests and shit. Fucking, it's a great channel. I really fucking check out Event Horizon. Okay, John Michael Gaultier is his name.
Any relation to Jean Paul?
No, I
Gaultier?
don't know. He's an American
fashion designer.
He's an American guy.
Okay. Just wondered.
He's just got a
I didn't
great
realize
voice.
that was his name.
He's got a great voice. Everybody listens to him to sleep to. And he's going to talk about fucking shit happening in deep space and what fucking certain satellites saw, and fucking then he's going to have guests on there talking about, just anything, space-time continuum, fucking,
I mean, I
black
like
holes,
I like Dan Bell's voice too.
high energy, fucking high.
I like mostly his quiet time videos,
Yeah, those are
which
good
most
too.
of those are on Patreon, but
Yeah.
like he has a few of them on YouTube.
Yeah, we're just like y'all. We listen to other creators to fall asleep to, and to, whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
Long form entertainment is fucking way of the future, bro, and it's free.
Well, like I said, I like
Except when we get them damn super chats.
I like scary stories. So
Yeah.
I like when channels like Mr. Nightmare or Busta or somebody
Yeah.
like that will put up like 4 hours of stories about
Yeah.
being lost in the woods. And
Yeah,
shit.
I look for like
I love
4
that
hour
kind of
videos,
shit.
5 hour
Like
videos.
I'll put that on like while I'm working on my
Yeah.
design shit. Like I'll just put that on in the background.
Yeah.
But CB says everything about Jenny is beautiful. Aw, thank you
you.
so much. That
Thank
is so nice. Why are you saying thank you? It's not
Thank
talking
you.
about you.
Oh, no. I'm a big part of this, man.
You're a big
Yeah,
part
big
of this.
problem.
Oh, okay. You made me mad earlier, but I'll forgive you.
Why are you mad because I'm fucking talking about
No. Like about earlier where you were like kept going off on like different
like, yeah.
topics and stuff. Because I'm like, dude, we've been on for like more than 2
I know
hours.
we didn't get done.
I know. Okay.
We
I mean, like I
it's
said,
gonna be a long video.
it's not, a timeline type video. We're just kind of like going all over talking about whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah. So according to this book and according to all these Google searches and erotica and stuff like that they looked into, they're like, well, obviously, women have a strong, what they called a strong erotic preference for what they, alpha males, confident, cocky, that type of dude. But the thing about it is that the dark side of that type of person is that people tend to be self-centered, self-absorbed, insensitive, kind of assholes, you know what I mean? And sometimes, if it goes far enough, this crosses over into, obviously, like physical, mental, emotional abuse, whatever. Now, so they're arguing that because of evolutionary psychology, women, when they're consciously asked what kind of dude they want, they want dudes to be like understanding and respectful of them and empathetic, which obviously most people do, but that because of evolution there's like something in that they are either not aware of or they don't particularly like, that they're just kind of attracted to bad boys whether they want to be or not. Although, as I said, that tends to be a short-term strategy. Like, women tend to like to bang bad boys. I mean, not me, but, like, that seems to be, like, a fairly common thing.
Look at, she had to have a disclaimer. She
No,
likes
I'm-
to bang bad boys. I was one of those bad boys in a
Yeah,
very
but
big
I
way.
married you.
Yeah, that's
We've
true.
been
That's-
together, like,
You have-
forever.
She does not have to defend herself. Fucking, she's
I'm just saying-
trustworthy. Women like bad boys. They'll
Hey.
bang a bad boy when they're single, But if they're
But they don't want to see him again.
Yeah, they probably and
Because they're a jerk.
right. And you know what I mean. And it's a fun thing. They'll chalk up fucking. It's just the way they. That's just the way they women are. Men are the same way. They like to have sex with hot chicks. If they can just do it multiple times, they can. If they're in a fucking relationship, some of them will sneak it. It depends on the situation. I haven't, but dudes do. Most dudes do. But most dudes are kind of simps too. They're simple. All right. I'm very resistant. Jen's seen me in action as a single, but how resistant I am to fucking women. But that was part of the reason why I was successful with them. I was kind of hard to get. Just because you were hot, it didn't really mean anything. If you weren't cool, then I'd shut your ass down. Or I'd fuck you and then shut you down. Like
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
well, you weren't desperate.
No.
You didn't need it.
Uh-uh.
You know what I mean?
No.
Like I said, you were always successful with women, like from
Yeah.
even before I met you.
Yeah.
But that's always because you always approached women as humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
As people.
Yeah.
Which a lot of dudes don't do, strangely. It seems easy,
Yeah.
but it's not.
It's very easy. But I kind of grew up doing that. I think a lot of that had to do with partially when I first started dating and hooking up with chicks. They were Brazilians. I was living in Brazil. And there's something about South American culture and Latin cultures are a lot more open than Northern cultures. And it's a little more emotional. You know what I mean? And they're sexually more open. So those dudes are not desperate. You know what I mean? They're not tryhards.
Yeah.
You can have sex. That's not a problem. You can buy it there. All right. So it's not as valued as much.
Yeah.
What's more valued is the woman and the fun and the kind of romance and clubbing and dancing and hanging out and, you know, love hotel and, you know, that kind of shit. You know what I mean? It was the other stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of these dudes they can't even get the very basics. So they're stressing. You know what I mean? We're just getting laid. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, South American cultures, anybody can get laid if you got money. Prostitution's open.
And I honestly don't know why more dudes don't do that here.
It's not in their culture. It's not in their culture.
I mean, it's all right.
The apps are all there. You can, but a lot of these guys are not tech savvy. Especially the older ones, and that's a bygone era.
I guess.
Yeah, the younger guys know they can buy it.
And I mean, there's not, and I guess in Brazil there's not like a stigma about it.
No, young guys are supposed to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of accepted, and it's not considered
right
weird or anything. So it's like, so if you are not having success with women just on your own, you could just go and no one's gonna say anything about it because that's just kind of like,
well, dudes would go out and go, let's go get, they're young guys, they have money, let's go fucking get some business.
So they don't put it on a pedestal then, because I kind of feel like that's a little bit of a problem too, is that dudes make too much of it,
which
and if
hinders them.
Right, and it ends up hindering you because you're just making too big of a deal about it, and it's just kind of like, so if you don't get it, then you feel like super desperate, and then like your desperation comes across,
and then you fail,
and then
like you get more desperate,
and then you seem kind of creepy and try hard, and like, and then women are feeling like, oh my god, I'm like this dude's everything now, and it's like it's too much.
Yeah,
you're like responsible for his
feelings now.
Do not condone
criminality. But if you're a dude, you're a young guy, and fucking you don't have any experience, you can always form a relationship with a professional provider. Okay, there's an app out there called fucking what was the name of that fucking thing?
I would.
It was a very good app. Shit, I'm too drunk to remember it. But there are apps out there. It was.
Yeah, it's the 21st century.
Yeah.
You can get anything.
Yeah, there are apps out there where
it's on your phone.
Right.
Just look it up.
Where everything is pretty much spelled out, what the requirements are for each woman, what she looks like, professional photo shoots, where she's working. They're always local to you. They're out there. I'll remember it once you start talking. I'll talk.
Yeah, Larry said guys think women are like an alien species or something. Just be human, dog. Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, I don't get why. Yeah, we're different, but we're not that fucking different. Like, we're just a person. Like, stop thinking of... Well, and I think, and we've talked about this before, is a lot of dudes fail because they're goal-oriented. Like, they only see the woman as, like, as a score. Like, I want to get laid.
Yeah.
And, like, a woman can sense that. You're like, oh, well, you don't give a shit about me as a person. You just want to get in my pants. And it's just, like, a lot of women do not find that very attractive.
The app that I was talking about, it ends with .link. Do you remember which one I'm talking about?
Why would I know?
Okay. Because I mentioned it before.
I know, but I don't remember
I mentioned it before on the show.
I have so much in my brain. I have no idea.
Trist.link.
I
And
figured.
I think it's spelled with a Y. Trist.link.
Well,
You can
that's how
download that.
We would normally.
And you can just search right in your area and fucking they'll all pop up.
Yeah.
And then the contacts and you know, I grew up doing that in South America and fucking later on when I was in the service. But it's just like dating, but you're dating a professional, and you're not there for the connection thing in that way. But like I said, I never went back to the same ones. You know what I mean? We didn't have online. Online would have made it a lot easier. But maybe you say, yeah, I want to go back and see that one.
That's what I mean. It's like, it seemed like it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah, it'd be a lot
nowadays.
easier. Right.
Like, cause you could just look on your phone and there's like fucking all kind of apps.
Right,
on it.
right.
Instead of just going in there and crying about how you can't get laid.
Right, you can't get laid.
Jesus
Getting
Christ.
laid should be easy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I don't know. So yeah. So what they're saying basically, and like I said, this is pretty common in evolutionary psychology, is that, well, women, you know, always want the big strong dude who can kick everyone else's ass, and so women being attracted to serial killers, which, like I said, is not super common. It's a fairly rare, like, paraphilia. But they're like, well, that's just like an extreme of that, because serial killers are obviously like the ultimate predators or whatever. So it's just kind of like, and I like that somebody brought up edgelords too, because I kind of thought about that too, because there's a little bit of that going on as well. Yeah. So, but the thing about it, and I brought this up before, is that the thing is that all of this erotica that we're talking about, where women are searching for like these big manly men and everything like that, that's predicated upon, in the erotica, the dude being like having a vulnerable side underneath that he doesn't show anybody but her. Like, that's a very attractive fantasy. And so I think that what we're seeing with women and serial killers is like a very extreme version of that. You know, because this serial killer, he's killed all these women and stuff like that. One, he won't kill me, I'm special. That's one thing. And it's just kind of like, this is like the ultimate predator. I mean, he's killed, you know, it was Ted Bundy, like 30 odd women or whatever he killed, and he did all these horrible things, like cut their heads off and fucking, you know, fucked their dead bodies and shit like that, which, like I said, I never fail to bring that up because Ted Bundy is not hot. He was a fucking necrophile. He was disgusting. So, but I kind of feel like women that are into that, that's kind of where they're coming from. This is like the worst of the worst. This dude is like the worst. And if I can find the human in there, if I can find the vulnerable side of him in there, and he'll only show it to me, then that means I'm special. And if he's super famous, then that's even more of an attraction, because other people know who he is, but I'm the only person that is seeing the real him.
CB saying, I feel sorry for these women. That, how long you have to be to fucking deal with these?
See,
that's not what it is, though. It's from the woman's point of view. I believe it's a power play. It's look how outrageous I am, and I captured him.
Oh, there is some of that too.
It's a power play.
I think there is some of that too. I don't know if they would necessarily consciously see it as that.
Yeah.
But I think there actually is an aspect of it. And like I said, there's a lot of other shit going on too. Like I said, a lot of these women have daddy issues, and a lot of them have been abused in the past by, you know, their families or husbands or whatever, and they're trying to assert some control over their relationships in the most fucked up way possible.
Yeah. She's like, yeah, he was out there killing and raping these other women, but fucking he you know, they got him now and I got him. He can't do anything to me. He's not going anywhere. Yeah. And I control this. That's part of what she's doing.
Oh yeah.
And look at everybody watching me. I got him, you know, it's like I'm taming him.
Yeah, because that's a big...
I fixed this.
Certain types of women do definitely have that. I tamed this while... And serial killers are, like I said, the worst of the worst. Yeah. So if you can be the woman that tamed Ted Bundy or, you know, whoever, or Richard Ramirez or whatever, like, you're going to get that status, like, alongside of that.
Without me, he'd be killing all you bitches. That's the thinking.
I mean, like I said, it's messed up.
Right, yeah.
I would never, because why?
I fixed him.
Gross.
Well, it's also, I think, they can.
I'm too old to fix anybody.
Sister Mary, save a fucker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I saved him. too. You know?
Like I said, that's
it's
very...
like Captain Save a Hoe.
It's very common among certain types of women that it's like, I can fix it.
Yeah, she's a female Captain Save a Hoe.
You can't fix it.
Yeah.
Like, get the hell out of there, girl. It's not going to get any better. Well, it was because I kind of feel like that happens, to a lesser extent, like not with serial killers, but a lot of women end up in abusive relationships because of that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's just like a more extreme version of it. It's like, oh, well, he's, a gangster. He's this or that and the other thing. Or he's like a terrible person and like beats up all these other. But he wouldn't do that to me. He would. Yeah, he will eventually. He will eventually. But I kind of feel like like I said, it's kind of a thing where they want to feel special. Like, I'm the only person that he doesn't do this shit to.
I think it depends on the dude.
Yeah.
I mean, not all dudes will turn on the women. Just depends on how dumb he is. You know what I mean? It's not those guys that are also
well, I do
dumb.
have a case where that did happen. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
well,
yeah.
no, I'm just talking about gangsters.
Yeah.
The Italian guys didn't do that. Italian mobsters didn't turn on their own wives usually. It's very rare.
Yeah. Well,
they're real family oriented.
But like I said,
with the Colombians.
That's a different pathology though, because that was like their job.
Right.
Like it was just business.
Yeah,
mostly.
but you were using the gangsters as the example. At first, unless I misunderstood what you were saying.
Yeah, I think you did.
Okay.
I think you did.
No.
I was just talking about generally like people that were like
gangsters didn't typically turn on their wives.
Yeah, I didn't mean like mafia gangsters.
Okay.
I meant more like gang people in gangs and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, a lot of those guys are dumb.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying that
they were abusive before they were in those gangs.
Well, and the thing happens with like just fucking rednecks that live in trailers and shit like that like beat on their wives and whatever. Yeah. It's just I kind of feel like there's a fucked up dynamic going on in abusive relationships where women are always kind of like making, they're always like justifying like, well, that's just what he's like, and it's like he does that to other people, he wouldn't do that to me, but then when he does it to her, she like, oh well, I did something bad or something, you know what I mean? It's like, and it's kind of messed up. It's just that whole dynamic is messed up.
The rednecks that I've known that were kind of like that tended to be alcoholics.
Yeah. Who
couldn't maintain employment. So they were very insecure. If they got a woman, they were fucking so afraid of fucking her leaving them that he would threaten her if she left him. Okay. A lot of times because he needed her income. It was that kind of shit. He beat her up because he was trying to keep her in line because he didn't want her to leave. He needed her money. She was paying the bills.
Well, and the thing about it, like, and here's something that I wanted to say too, is that like a lot of people are like, especially women that are in abusive relationships or anything like that, and they're just like, well, why don't you just leave? Because when you leave, that's when most of them statistically get murdered. Yeah. Like after you try to leave.
Yeah, they're totally dependent. They're weak men that are totally dependent. Is usually they can't hold a job and they're no skills and they're usually alcoholics. So they need that woman. If not, they're homeless. They become bums. That's what happens to them.
True. But they don't, and I kind of feel like they don't feel like they want to need a woman because they're too alpha for that. So it's like then they turn it back on her like it's.
Well, the alpha image is a defense mechanism because
that's what I'm saying.
They're weak.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like
it's not really alpha.
So they have to beat the crap out of her.
Yeah, they're more
like
beta.
They don't like that they're dependent. Upon a woman.
Yeah, they're not even beta. They're more like omega. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Eric said, or they're angry at the world and take it out on her. Yeah. If they do that too,
it's all the same thing.
That's very common.
It's a bunch of shit happening at once in them.
That's very common.
You can see it a mile away in them once you know the signs.
Yeah. I mean,
a lot of women can't see it though. Especially it depends on what their background.
Well, and the thing about it too,
background.
Yeah, it depends on their background. One, they might have been abused growing up, and
their
that's
dad
just what they're one of those. Right, and that's just what they're used to. They just think that's normal, which is really sad, but that happens a lot. And two, particularly with dudes that have their shit together a little bit more, sometimes they can fake being kind of normal for a while.
Yeah.
Until you kind of get emotionally attached to them, and then their true colors come out. Yeah. So there's that situation too. So that's not really her fault because he wasn't really given. Most people do give up kind of red flags, but some of them are kind of subtle. So you won't really be looking for them necessarily, especially if you really like the person. So,
Dead giveaway is how his exes treat him. If his exes treat him like shit, he's either a piece of shit or he's choosing bad women, which might be the same thing. If his exes like him, that's
usually a good sign.
Yeah, your danger then is that he goes back to the exes. That's the only risk. That's the only risk. You'd rather have him when he's good with his exes. That's much better.
Yeah,
much
like
better.
I would rather either people that were still like acquaintances and fine with their exes, or just didn't talk to them or about them at all. A big red flag is somebody that talks about their exes constantly and about how shitty they were. That usually means you're the asshole.
Yeah,
that usually means
you're hiding the fact that you suck.
Right.
It's your fault.
I mean, and I've never met an exception to that rule, but yeah, that's generally that's something to look out for.
Yeah, but that goes for women too.
No, that's what I mean. I'm not talking about men. I'm talking about everybody. Anybody that just like constantly shits on their exes and they just keep talking about them. There's usually something going on there, and it's usually that person is the asshole that's like talking about it because they're trying to like justify it. Like I said, if you don't ever talk about your ex or you don't even think about them anymore, that's fine. Or if you're still like okay friends with them and stuff like that, that's
CB signing off from Scotland. Okay, you can catch up with the show later.
Yeah.
Recorded. Yeah.
Nice to see
people falling asleep
as always. Well, yeah, it's almost 10 o'clock and I'm only like halfway through, but
we can speed it up.
We'll try. So I definitely do feel like there's an aspect of some women that want to tame dudes. That's a pretty common trope for a reason. I don't really feel like that because I think Sabrina said earlier, fixing them is too much work, right? Like you want somebody, especially at my fucking age, man. I'm like 51 and it's just kind of like you want somebody that's already like fucking house trained. You know what I mean? It's like you don't want to have to train them all over. You should have learned that by now. Like by this age, you should have gone through everything. So it's like I'm not responsible for like teaching you how to be a person. You know what I mean? Figure it out on your own like everyone else does. But yeah, so it's that kind of thing. So yeah, and I kind of feel like I don't know. I kind of feel like there's a little bit of women that just kind of like, cuz here's the weird thing. The dude that I was listening to, who's not technically a serial killer, he was like a hitman. But he had like all these women that would come and like have sex with him, and he's like, yeah, I just have sex with the one like 1 or 2 times, and then he has other ones. But he has like this big fan club, or according to him, I don't know, I didn't check. So the thing about them, like some of them were married, and so I'm guessing their husbands either didn't know or they were okay with it, which okay, whatever, you do you. But I think a lot of it too, like some women are just kind of like they like the risk involved. Like, it's kind of like riding a roller coaster or some shit like that. It's like, I'm going to go talk to a serial killer. I'm going to go have sex with a serial killer. You know what I mean? It's just like the ultimate. So I kind of feel like there might be a little bit of that going on too. Maybe. Like with some kind of people. Like they kind of get a charge out of that. And as we mentioned earlier, I kind of feel, though, that the reason... I mean, the fact that these dudes have already been caught, are kind of famous, are already in prison, and are probably not getting out because a lot of them are death row, makes them more attractive in a weird way. Because like I said, they're unattainable. You can't really, you can go visit them maybe, but like you can't really interact with them day to day or anything. And it's just kind of like, if you had met them just outside, I don't think most women would be attracted to them in the same way that they are. So I don't think the attraction is necessarily for that person specifically. I think it's the situation like that makes it attractive to them. Because when I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking about a lot of the women that ended up marrying these serial killers and shit like that. If they had met this person just in a bar or at the laundromat or whatever the hell, and it's just like, and then would they have liked them the same? I don't think so. I just kind of feel like in probably 95% of the cases, I don't think so. I think that the fact that they were already imprisoned, that they were already infamous, I think that was a large part of the attraction for them, was the danger, but the safe danger. You know what I mean? If you had just met this person and then like you kind of liked them and you found out later that was a serial killer, you would run the fuck away from that person as fast as possible, and rightly so. But after they'd already been caught, after we already know what they did, but they're already in prison, they're safe, they're not going anyplace, they're on death row, they can't get out and get you, you think. I think that makes them more attractive because you don't have to get involved with them, really, any more than you want to get involved with them. So I think that's a big kind of thing to it. Now, interestingly, though you might imagine that Hybristophilia is a fairly new phenomenon, as in women falling for serial killers, and maybe this is a thing that came from like the serial killer heyday from like 60s and 70s. Not so. Matter of fact, here's a very famous case. I read a book that was on Amazon, which was about this very topic. Not super well written, but they had some like interesting case studies in there. So there was a dude named William Henry Theodore Durant. Now, he was actually one of America's earliest documented serial killers. Although, technically, I guess he only killed 2 women. Only. But yeah, so this happened in 1895. Now, he was a medical student in San Francisco. And he was also a superintendent at the Sunday school at this Baptist church there. And 2 of the women that he knew, they were both 20 years old. And he raped, murdered, and indulged in necrophilia with both of them on 2 separate occasions. So they caught him. He was actually called the Demon of the Belfry, and that was the name that the media gave him. And he was on trial for 3 weeks. And it was a huge fucking deal, as you might imagine, because, the women were all, he fucked the dead bodies. It was like,
2 dead bodies.
It was 2, well, yeah, not at the same time, but like just within a few days of each other. Now, this was kind of the first big newspaper story about this. So when he went on trial, a lot of the media at the time commented on how crazy it was that all of these women of all ages, teenagers up until like older women, came to the courthouse to look at him because he was pretty good looking, I guess. Like, it's hard to tell from the fucking picture from 1895. But they thought he was good looking back then, I guess. So they all went there to look at him, and the reporters at the time and there were female reporters too, and they were talking about how ridiculous these women were acting. Like, they were just acting like he was a fucking rock star in 1895. And they would just wait in line, and they were like jostling to get to the front. They just wanted to like look at him, and they were like, ooh, they were getting all up about it and everything. And like I said, this is 1895. So yeah, even the female reporters at the time were like talking about how embarrassed they were to be like women at this point, because they're like, oh my god, look how these bitches are acting. It was that kind of shit. So yeah, and actually, I think from what I could determine from the newspaper articles was that I guess they said they brought in coffins. I was like, did they have the women's bodies in there? Like, because they didn't have pictures of them, because that would be fucked up. But whatever it was, they brought them in. And, like, the women would line up, like, for hours, like, to go. And then they would go back and get in line again so they could look at it again.
Look at the coffins again?
Yeah.
Were the bodies
like, look at the bodies again.
Oh, the bodies are in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and everybody was, like, freaking out, like, oh, my God, the moral decay of the United States. It's like, here we go. Like, all these fucking women, like, looking at this shit that they probably shouldn't be looking at. And, they were decrying. It's like, well, this is why women can't have nice things. Like, this is why they can't vote. And this is why they can't be independent, because they do this kind of shit. You know what I mean? They were, like, saying that argument.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
They're getting caught up with their feelings.
Right. And it's just like, look at these depraved women coming here to look at this murder and, like, these dead bodies and stuff. This is fucked up. So
it was morbid, and it was turning them on.
Right. Well, yeah. And it's just kind of like, well,
they were seeing the guy they were fearing, and there he is, and he's cute.
Maybe that's what it was. I don't think there's anything, like I said, I don't think there's anything nefarious necessarily in women liking true crime. It's just a facing your fear type of thing. Your fear, because, like, most women are scared that, like, some fucked up shit like that is going to happen to them. Yeah. And it's like, so it's a safe way of processing those emotions. Like I said, I don't think there's anything nefarious
It's a safe,
about that.
It's a safe way of facing it.
Yeah, because you're like looking, and this is the worst shit that could happen to you, and you imagine it. Yeah. You're like, man, like, and you put yourself in the place of the victim. At least I do.
What did he look like?
I don't really remember. It's just like I said, it was
the girls thought he was cute. I guess.
Yeah. Or he was cute for a murderer.
Right.
I guess. or he looked normal.
Yeah,
Maybe that's what it is. Because I think a lot of people are still freaked
Yeah.
out by that because they expect him to look like, I don't know, have 3 heads or something. No, they just look normal, and a lot of times they act normal too.
Yeah.
So, but there was one woman in particular who came there every single day. Her name was Rosalind Bauer, and she would come to this dude's trial every single day, and she had every day she would have a bouquet of sweet pea flowers, and she would send them to him. And like one day he came out and he had one of them in his lapel, and she was just like thought that was the coolest thing ever. She wanted to go visit him, but they wouldn't let her. Yeah. But she came there like every single day, and like after a while, like the newspaper started like noticing her. Obviously, the same bitches here with these fucking flowers, and they started calling her Sweet Pea Girl because of the flowers. Yeah. And they were like she would do weird shit. Like she would be in the. They said she would make melodramatic poses, like when he was, like during the trial. I don't know what I don't know what she was doing. Like I'm trying to imagine. So it's like, but enough that like people noted it.
Trying to get attention.
Yeah, exactly. And then a lot of them said that too. Like even back in 1895, they're like attention whore. You know what I mean? So it was that kind of thing. Another thing too, they found out later when they found out who she was married. And when her husband found out what she was doing, he was real mad. Which, like I said, I can imagine. Because that'd be pretty weird if, like, your wife was wandering off doing that kind of crap. So, yeah, they never really did figure out, like, what her motivation was, necessarily. Yeah. Like I said, but it did kind of highlight... And like I said, there were, like, some kind of funny articles about it at the time saying this is why, women can't... this is why we won't let them do anything, essentially. They didn't say it like that, but that's what they meant.
That's why women need male custodial.
Yeah, because it's like, look at when they're not supervised. Look at the shit they get up to. They're just coming here, like, making eyes at, like, a serial killer. Yeah. It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the bitches are bad.
Yeah, so it's like...
All the history that's been...
Tammy said she would flash him an ankle. Yeah, right? And that's like super scandalous back then. Maybe that's what she was doing. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so the guy, Durant, he, the jury was all male, obviously. They took about 5 minutes to find him guilty, and he got hanged in 1897. So, I don't really know what happened to her. She kind of, like, vanished into the annals, but...
The spell was broken.
I guess, but I don't know if she thought he was innocent or she was just like fascinated by him for some reason. I don't even know, like, any of the articles didn't say like she said anything or nothing.
Gotta be something kind of along the lines of chicks fantasizing about vampires.
Yeah, I guess
something like that.
I think it's kind of all in the same continuum.
Yeah.
This is a person that
he kills other people, but he loves me.
Well, yeah, and I think Zach brought that up earlier because he was talking about 50 Shades of Grey, but then you have Twilight too, which was fanfic of 50 Shades of Grey, right? Or was it the other way around? I can't remember. But Twilight was obviously about vampires, and I think that the appeal of that, at least for adolescents or for the women that read it, was that this is a centuries old powerful vampire. But he falls in love with a human woman, and he would never hurt her, even though he'll kill other people.
Yeah, like think of how ridiculous this is.
It is ridiculous.
This dude's a fucking... He's 200 years old. All right, he's superhuman. All right, he can't die a normal death. Real fucking strong and powerful. He could probably fly. Did they fly, or he could just travel?
He sparkled for sure.
He could sparkle for...
Did he fly? I don't know. I didn't read those books.
And he meets a woman, and she's different than all the other women that he's fucking seen.
I'm not like the other girls.
Not like all the other...
I'm a cool girl.
She is nothing like all the other fucking smoking hot chicks that he's been seeing for 200 years. This one's special. No. That's fantasy. You would just be in his upper echelon. Yeah, you kind of remind me of those other fucking 300 hot chicks that I've been fucking killing over the past 200 years.
And if you piss me off, I'm going to kill you too.
You're in the upper echelon. I'll eat you eventually. I like you. Yeah. Eventually you're going to join my other 300 brides.
Yeah. I like you. Dead. That's why I kill you last.
Yeah, I'll kill you last.
It'd be that kind of thing.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean, but I think that's why... I think the reason that it's ridiculous is the reason that a lot of women have that as a fantasy. Yeah. I think a lot of women know that it's ridiculous, that never happens in real life, but that's why they want to read erotica and shit like that about it, because it doesn't happen in real life.
Yeah.
I mean, normally if you meet a dude who's like a psychopath, he's eventually going to beat your ass too. Like, he's not just going to beat everyone's ass but you, or kill everyone but you. he'll eventually get around to you. It might be last, but yeah, he's gonna get
Yeah.
around to it. You know, you piss him off enough, he's gonna do the same shit to you that he does to other people because you're not that fucking special.
Yeah.
But I think that most women know that, and that's why that's a fantasy, because they know that it can't happen.
Yeah. Women are unique. They are. Like Jen's unique. But once women are hot and unique and fucking they're kind of they're in a realm. You know what I mean? There's lots of them like that. But here's the deal: you're not with those. You're with one of them. The vampire thing would be totally different. He would have access to all of them.
Yeah.
So their value would be, and he's 300 years old. Yeah,
He's been around the block.
So yeah, so
multiple times.
All these fucking super hot 25-year-olds are still just 25-year-olds. That shit, fucking come on. What kind of 25-year-old?
Yeah, you think if you've been
Compared
around
to you,
for
you're
a
like
couple
300 years old,
right?
know?
Because like I said, a couple even
Yeah.
dudes that get older, like unless they're stunted somehow,
Yeah, no.
like get to a
20s
point
are
where it's just like it doesn't really impress you anymore.
Yeah.
So can you imagine like that extended to like 3 or
Yeah,
4
it would
times?
get
Like if you're
worse.
centuries and
You're
centuries
right.
old, you're just like not gonna give a crap.
No,
anymore.
a 200 or 300-year vampire would be more apt to eat you. You'd be good, but he'd eat you. He'd see a lot of you.
That's what I mean, because he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're cool, but you kind of remind me of,
Of all the other ones that I
what's her
mean.
face from
Yeah.
250 years ago.
Yeah.
I ate her too, but it took a while.
That's probably why Anne Rice's vampires were all a lot of them were kind of like longing for death. That makes more sense because you get bored.
Yeah,
Once
you've
you
kind
live
of
that time.
experienced everything. And,
everything's
like after a while, you'd be like,
it's
yeah,
all the same shit.
right. It's
You
just the
get
same
bored.
thing over and over
and over and over again.
You know what I mean?
So
it might be that.
So immortality would start becoming a curse because life,
Yeah.
even life as the undead, you're kind of like it doesn't progress.
But yeah, she
It's the
really
same
nailed
thing.
that. Like,
Right.
like I said, I kind of feel like before that, you know, and vampires still are romanticized to a large degree,
Yeah.
but I think she really did kind of hone in on immortality. In some ways, it'd be awesome, but like in a lot of ways, it would probably suck.
Yeah. Well, just like Armand didn't care that Louis killed all of his vampire coven. He
He's
says,
like-
yeah, they were old and decadent, and they were unchanged forever. I was sick of them. You know.
Yeah.
So even your own kind, you get sick of them.
Yeah, they wouldn't care about anything after
Yeah.
a while. You'd just be like, whatever.
Yeah, like
All right, I gotta go
I
to the
was
bathroom.
sick of them. They were fucking around. They weren't gonna change. They
Right,
were like that
exactly.
forever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Talk about something.
I'll talk about something.
I gotta pee.
All right. Good Night from Scotland's fantastic video. Okay, yeah, that was CB. He's long gone now. Just good up there. Victor says 50 Shades is Twilight fanfic. Okay. Erica says sparkly vampires. The more ridiculous, the better. I think Jen read this one. Yeah, Tabby goes, you wouldn't get bored with me. I'm special. Yeah, you're fucking 300 or 400 years old. Fucking, all the faces start to seem very much the same. It's kind of like the porn industry. There's so many girls in there that their fucking value has kind of declined. It used to be the porn industry back in the 80s in the United States when VHS hit. Porn industry was dominated by fucking 5 girls. You could name them all. And they all were like Lynn. Amber Lynn, Ginger Lynn, fucking Terry Lynn, fucking shit like that. Fucking they were like 5 or 6 girls. They just fucking dominated because that's all people had access to. They made a shit ton of money. Now there's a fucking shit ton of girls much hotter than that doing it from their homes. They're making fucking $300 a month. Side money, you know. Funny. Well, that's the way a vampire would see mortal women. He would have access to all of them. Using supernatural powers coming through the window, flying, teleporting, turning into smoke and going underneath the fucking. So they would all, and also they had extrasensory perception. They knew what people were thinking, like radar, you know, for fucking over long distance. So you would know where they all were, you know. You know what they were all kind of like and what they were thinking. They would all start to blur. You'd only be eating the best of them or killing the best of them, drinking their blood and shit, like a vampire. But even they would start to just kind of blend, you know. So it's just human nature. You know, it'd be the same way. It's the same way with these women, you know, fucking that working in brothels or something. all the dudes just start to blur. You know what I mean? They're like, yeah, I've seen a million of those. It's a non-event.
Well, yeah.
So vampire is just a fantasy for people that don't fucking are young and don't really fucking think about it too long and don't realize how bored you would get doing that. It's kind of more like a fantasy, power fantasy.
Yeah, and the thing about fantasy is
Yeah.
that it's fantasy.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't want to do that in real life. Like, would you want to be an immortal vampire in real life and, like, actually have to go through the reality of what that would be like? Most people probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's fun to think about. But that's the thing. It's fun to think about because you don't have to, experience the reality of it.
Yeah, just like, it's a fantasy of being a billionaire. I've actually fucking listened to interviews of people that have done business or known, fucking call girls and shit that fucking done business with billionaires and shit. Those dudes are fucking bored. Very bored. They can have pretty much anything they want. They have more money than they can actually spend. They do shit that you would think as a normal person would be, but man, why'd they spend all that money doing that? Like, there must be some kind of secret motive behind it. No, it's just because the dude had to spend money for legal reasons, so he just did that. You know what I mean? That weird shit. Okay, these billionaires are building these fucking bunkers everywhere right now. Like, oh man, they must know the end of the world's coming. How do you know that's just not a fucking First of all, the amount of money that they spent doing that is very little from their point of view. And how do you know that really all they're doing is just buying a very sophisticated man cave, And they're one-upping one another. Oh, my bunker is fucking much bigger than your bunker. And they never go in there anyway.
You know how dudes are.
And look at my shit's got fucking automatic, just like out of Fallout.
Fucking bitches.
I got a vault just like out of Fallout. You know what I mean? And they literally do have a vault like out of Fallout. But they never go in there, you know what I mean? And it's just money that...
Yeah.
And...
Well, because they have the money to just indulge whatever whim, flitters through their head. Right. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and then they don't, like, after it's actually done, the reality of it.
All about it.
Like I said, the idea of something is usually a lot cooler than the reality of something. Yeah. So it's like when you actually, it's like, man, I'd really love this, that, and the other. But then, like, you actually have that constructed or whatever, and you're like, it's kind of lame.
It's kind of lame. Evidently, that's what's going on.
It was more fun just thinking about it. It's more fun just thinking about it.
They got a whole vault where fucking them and all their friends can live down in there in fucking perfect comfort for fucking 30 years. But they don't ever go in there. They're never going to do that. The money that they spent on that was just fucking money they had laying around. It wasn't a big deal.
Right. They don't care about that. Well, like I said, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. It's like, we can, and I'm not saying, these women that are into serial killers, most of them would never do anything, like they would never team up with a serial killer and do serial killer shit themselves. Some people have, but that's like a whole different thing. But most of these women that write them letters and stuff like that, I don't think if they met the person, if they ever got out of prison, which they won't, but it's like they're like, hey, come with me and cut these people's heads off or something like that. I think most of the time they probably wouldn't. I mean, but the whole idea of it for them is just the fantasy. That's what we're talking about, is that I kind of feel like for these women, for most of these women, I think it's just a weird, fucked up, twisted fantasy. That's all it is. Like, if they actually had to experience living with this dude day to day, if they actually had to experience if this dude got out of prison and moved in with them or something like that, I don't think it wouldn't have the same appeal, obviously.
Tammy says, I think that's why Anne Rice's vampires were mostly bi. They weren't bi either because they didn't have sex at all.
Yeah, but I mean, they were interested in either.
Yeah, they were kind of like, I don't want to say they were gender non-binary. They were just like kind of genderless. They only cared about blood.
Yeah.
But they experienced love though.
Yeah.
But not sex. They couldn't have sex.
Right.
They were impotent.
That would be kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
See, that sounds
during
fun
the
already.
process of turning into a vampire, they'd fucking their bodies would get voided of all fucking fluids and fucking waste.
If you haven't read the book.
And that was the last time they ever ate, and they'd never eat or shit again. And then all their sexual organs would just kind of atrophy.
See, that sounds like a bummer.
Yeah, because
like not being able to eat.
Yeah.
Like not being able to enjoy like a good rare steak and a baked potato or Tom's butter chicken or
everything.
I would not like that.
Everything went towards blood. ingesting
that.
blood was
That
eating
sounds lame.
eating and sex combined into the same thing,
Yeah.
into the same act.
Like I said, I wouldn't mind being immortal. I don't think I would get bored, but I don't
Yeah.
know. But if you couldn't eat or have sex or anything like that, I don't think it would be worth it.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't. That's a lot of stuff that's like enjoyable in life, and if you couldn't do that, then I kind of feel like it wouldn't be worth it. Yeah, Victor said 50 Shades is Twilight fanfic. Okay, so I think I got it like opposite. I knew one of them was fanfic of the other thing, but I couldn't remember which one it was. But and I kind of feel like, I don't know. I get why some women like that. I wasn't real into 50 Shades of Grey, I will say. I was curious because so many people were shitting on it. So one day I was in the books. I didn't buy it or anything like that, but I was in the bookstore and I'm just like, okay, well, my grammar Nazi ass, I'm going to read some of this.
Yeah.
And like I read a few pages of it and I'm like, oh, okay, I see what everyone's talking about. Like immediately. So I was just kind of like, yeah, this is terribly, terribly written. But you know, it sold like a zillion copies, so I can't really shit on it too much.
Exactly, Tammy. They just cuddled. The vampires just cuddled.
They just cuddle.
They cuddled and talked. And experienced
That sounds
things.
nice.
And then they
Sex is nice, but cuddling and
They
talking is
cuddle and
nice
talk.
too.
Yeah, that's all it did.
It's good if
And
it's
then
all
they tell
of
each
that.
other how beautiful they were. How
And then
awesome
go
they-
get some
and then how
snacks.
awesome they
And
were.
that's a perfect
Yeah.
evening.
They weren't sexual in the way that a human was.
Yeah.
They were possessed by a fucking poltergeist. Remember?
Yeah.
They're basically possessed by a fucking a poltergeist that lusted after blood.
Yeah.
They were sharing that infection between them. There's a lot of fucking... Basically, there's a lot of junkie fucking analogies, too. A lot of...
Yeah, sure.
Basically, they're talking about junkies.
Well, and that's
Blood
she
junkies.
wasn't the first person to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
there have been a lot of vampire movies. Well, that came out later. There was one called The Addiction. I want to say,
Yeah.
I think Lily Taylor was in it. It was black and white, and that was kind of like very overtly like vampires, but as junkies kind of analogy.
Yeah.
It's actually really good if you haven't seen it. It came out in the 90s, I think. Iris said, I've never really been interested in Twilight. Yeah, me neither. For some reason, seeing bits and pieces and hearing about it didn't get me interested. It sounded like, to be honest with you, it sounded like a vampire novel that I wrote when I was 17. You know what I mean? Except I think mine was better. I didn't finish it. Because, like, after, like, I started writing it and I was like, this is cool. And then, like, I read it back later. I'm like, oh my God, this sucks. And I threw it away. But apparently she just kept on going and published it and made $1 billion. So, fuck me, I guess.
Yeah. Did vampires cuddle? That wasn't really mentioned. I'm thinking about that now.
Did vampires cuddle?
That didn't. That was in the Anne Rice novels. That was never really mentioned.
Right.
I don't think they did. Because they didn't experience.
Vampire cuddle puddle.
They didn't experience reality as we experience it.
No, I guess not.
They didn't even see things the same way we saw things. So I don't think they. Well, what's her name? Claudia would jump into fucking Louise coffin
Yeah.
during the
they slept
daytime,
in the
and
same
they'd
coffin.
kind of cuddle, but sleep.
Right.
That was the only time I ever really mentioned anything about cuddling. Or they would kiss every now and then, but it was just kind of like bullshit kiss, like greeting.
Right.
They weren't real sexual.
I don't remember. I haven't read the books. in a long
but
time.
they would get like fucking infatuated and obsessed with people. It was kind of like love, but they weren't sexual.
Yeah. Which is kind of interesting because, like, that's probably exactly what would happen. Like, she really called it.
The way they were, humans would be sexually attracted to them, though, and I think they were kind of attracted to each other. The way they moved and the way they were, but they didn't experience things the way we experience things. They were another creature.
Well, I get. Yeah. Look, I even get the whole. I don't even know if the whole. Well, I guess this is a subset. It's a subset of the whole alpha male dominant kind of thing, like of female erotica. Because one of the largest segments of erotica, which women buy overwhelmingly, I thought I read some. I don't know if this is the case. I thought I read somewhere that women actually spend more on erotica than men do on porn, which I guess is true because
it's the same thing.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. But like I said, we're coming at it from two different things. But one of the biggest subsets of erotica that's mostly purchased by females is kind of not necessarily werewolves, but like a werewolf type of situation where it's just like a beast man.
Yeah,
that's a very big.
Been there, done that.
That's a very big.
Yeah,
that's a very.
If you want to become a werewolf, just inject a bunch of test and a bunch of tren.
Yeah, well.
And wait about 3 months. Yeah, just keep taking it for about 3 months.
And there's a large.
You might go to jail too.
Well, yeah, so there's that going on.
Yeah.
But there's a large subset of porn, but obviously it's all animated, but there's a huge animated porn thing of like werewolves, you know, having sex with elves and human women and other, you know what I mean?
Well, werewolves could have sex.
Yeah. And it's kind of cool, actually. Like I said, I like a lot of that.
I don't think vampires did, though.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of vampire porn too. Like we usually see the
because werewolves were alive
stuff, but
werewolves were living creatures and they were bestial.
Right.
So they had.
So there
sex.
is kind of like a bestial, but like I said, I kind of feel like
werewolves
that's
is bestiality,
right?
Basically.
But like I said, I kind of feel like maybe a lot of women would. They probably wouldn't watch it as much as they would read about it. A lot of women read about like bestiality type porn, like werewolves and stuff. Yeah. Or not necessarily werewolves, but just like beastmen
and shit. Yeah.
But I'm just saying that were they presented with that in real life, most women would probably not do that. Yeah. Like I said, it's like a fantasy type of thing, and if you did it in real life, it wouldn't be as fun. But the fact that it's forbidden.
Yeah, is a
big and like we talk about this a lot because like Tom likes stuff that's kind of like
I like fucking
stuff that's like
CGI,
wrong, like stuff that's kind of wrong.
Yeah.
So in a way, that's kind of like that's where the animation is good because they can show anything, and because it's not people, it's not real people. They can just draw or animate whatever they want. So it's just kind of like, so you can put shit in there that's like all kinds of wrong, and you can still watch it, and it's still kind of hot, but you know that like people aren't being like fucked up or
it's just
exploded.
Cartoon.
It's just a cartoon.
It's just cartoon.
So it's just kind of like, so I get like why a lot of people like that. I do, because you're, like I said, you're just indulging in a fantasy, and I kind of feel like the same.
It's ancient. The Romans did the same thing.
Sure.
Centaurs, satyrs.
Yeah.
Fucking all these half man, half animal creatures. They would. In brothels, there's surviving drawings of them having sex with women.
Yeah.
You know, they did that.
It's very common. And like I said, I get it.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't, you know, and I think that most women probably wouldn't, if presented with the opportunity, like, wouldn't want to really have sex with an animal. But, like, thinking about it or fantasizing
romantic centaur comes up.
Right.
You gotta
like,
fucking blow it.
Right.
Shit like that.
That's what I mean. It's like shit like that. It's harmless. That's like a centaur's not real. So it's just kind of like, it's okay. That's okay. Like I said, I get it.
Ryan Gosling fucking as a centaur.
Ryan Gosling
all
with a
fucking 16 inches of that bitch
with a horse
coming at you.
That would kill you. That would kill you in real life, but see, in a cartoon, it all works out. Or in a book, you can like just imagine it.
Drawings like that go back to the Greco-Roman era.
Sure.
So yeah.
So that's what I'm saying, and I kind of feel like, and that's what I'm saying, and I kind of feel like maybe when this subset of women that are into serial killers, I think it's kind of a similar thing. It's almost maybe, I don't know if I'd go so far as to say it's like a werewolf thing, but it's something that's taboo, because I'm sure their families are not real happy about it if they know about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure they get a lot of blowback of like, you know, why are you writing to a serial killer? Why are you marrying a serial killer? So I think they like the fact that it's taboo, that it's wrong.
Yeah.
I think they're getting off on that too.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think that's kind of a big thing. So let's kind of talk about a couple of examples of this, like kind of famous examples. And like I said, I don't want to go too much into this because we've done shows about some of these dudes before and we've kind of brought this up. But obviously, probably the most famous one was, you know, Ted Bundy. He had like a lot of fucking fans. He still does, actually. And I think after that Netflix movie came out with, who was in that? Zac Efron was in that, right? And he got like a whole new legion of fans after that. Which, it was a good series. I'm just saying it's like, it's a little messed up. But even at the time, well, he had a girlfriend when he was killing most of those women too. Mm-hmm. But then like after he went to prison, he ended up marrying Carol Ann Boone. Now the interesting thing about her though is that she knew him before. She had met him in 1974. He had started killing women by then, but obviously nobody knew that. But yeah, so she became like one of his biggest advocates, right? And then like they both worked in the same office. That's where they met. But like, yeah. And she thought that he was innocent and that he was being railroaded. And when he went to prison and he was convicted of 3 murders at first, and she was basically, no, he didn't do it. He would never do that, blah, blah, blah. And she even, like, testified at his trial, like, as a character witness, like, in 1980. And very famously, and there's video of it all over YouTube, this was in Florida, so there was some weird, obscure law in the books where I guess if you proclaimed your marriage to somebody, like, in open court, then it was legal. And I guess he had been a law student, even though he didn't graduate or anything like that, because he couldn't cut it. But he found that law, and he represented himself. So when he was questioning her, he proposed marriage to her, and it was basically like, okay, well, we're married now. And, the law said, okay, well, they're married now. Now, the thing about it, so they had a daughter, evidently. I don't know if, like I said, I've heard that they paid a guard a couple $100 and let them fuck behind a water cooler or something like that. But it could just be, like you said, that he just, like, jerked off in a condom and gave it to her, and she just, like, put it up her cooch with a fucking turkey baster. I don't really know. But yeah.
You had to time it perfectly.
Yeah, I mean,
Or she could freeze it. I think it freezes.
Yeah, you can. I don't really know, like, what the logistics of that are.
I think you can freeze it.
Yeah, I think you can freeze it for some.
I think it survives it. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Tammy said, can you imagine telling your parents you love a serial killer? My mom would have knocked my head off. Yeah, I mean, like I said, so I think I think a lot of these women are damaged, obviously, for reasons probably not of their own fault. But I think a portion of them do kind of get off on how subversive it is.
Yeah.
Because it's like the ultimate, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like the girl.
No.
Yeah, when it's like the girls, it's like they bring home some, like, delinquent, quote unquote, that wears a leather jacket and it's like, maybe steals cigarettes or something, like, from, I'm talking about, like, back in the 50s or something. Yeah. But it's like, and it's, oh my God, our daughter is just like, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, so you bring home somebody that's, like, mutilated and raped and murdered, like, 30 women. That's kind of the extreme. So I can kind of see how, like, some women, that might be attractive to them. Because, like I said, some people like taboo and they get off on other people disapproving of their choices. So I get that. But yeah, so they had a daughter, somehow. And the thing about it, though, was that Carol Ann Boone, she was, like, married to him for a while. But after a while, I don't really know what it was that changed her mind, because she was like, oh no, he didn't do it, he would never do such a thing, blah, 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 which, yeah, okay. But then after a while, I guess it finally sunk into her thick skull that he did do all of that shit, because he admitted to most of it, right? So she's finally like, oh,
it's probably more simple than
this
that.
person's a monster. So she basically took her kid and, like, moved away and didn't have any contact with him.
It's probably something more simple
Obviously,
than that.
he's been executed.
Probably what it really was is that she became disenchanted with him. And then just flipped the script. I've been victimized. It's another way of fucking grandstanding. That's probably what it was. She probably just became disenchanted with him. Like, fuck this dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
probably.
he's a monster. What am I doing here? It was an accident.
Maybe she.
Look at me.
Well,
He took
yeah, that's
advantage
what
of
I
me.
mean. Like, she
Yeah,
might have.
yeah.
Well, she might have either came to her senses, or she met somebody better, or something, or she got sick of him. He said something sideways, and she wasn't about
like
it.
that.
You know what I mean? So it could have been that.
Yeah, she's like,
So-
okay, I'm breaking up with you. He's a monster. He tricked me.
I mean, he is a monster. And she's right about that. Like I said, she was right the
She
second
was getting
time.
off on that shit.
But yeah, I kind of feel like there's.
Yeah.
But the fact that they get off on it is
Yeah.
messed up in itself. That is emblematic of, like,
Yeah.
you having some problems. Like, because normal people would not get off on, hey, I'm going to have sex with a serial killer. Yeah, no. I would really never. I'm going to go to the prison and, like, fucking. Yeah, no, I don't think so. So, yeah, so, like I said, I kind of feel like a lot of dudes that I was, like, looking at, like, that were commenting on stuff, were just kind of like, oh, well, if the serial killer wasn't good looking, like Ted Bundy was, presumably, then they wouldn't get any fan mail. Not so. Because Henry Lee Lucas, who was ugly as fuck, objectively, also got fan mail. And he also got a woman who was married to someone else, actually. Her name is Phyllis Wilcox. And she was so in love with him that she was planning to free him by posing as Becky the girlfriend that he killed.
Yeah, right. To get him off.
Yeah, that's like they had this whole plan.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, he had already confessed that he'd strangled her and cut her up. But I guess he told her, because she had like read a book about him and became super obsessed. So she started writing him letters, and then like she started going to visit.
Didn't really look as that dude.
Yeah,
fucking ugly as fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Like him and like Otis Toole, like or Otis or whatever.
Otis, yeah.
And they like fucking the two of them just look like the biggest. Like if you have like look up scumbag in the dictionary, that's like the pictures are right there.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. If you saw that dude, if you were just anywhere, like at a grocery store or a gas station, and you saw those dudes like standing on the side, you would move to the other fucking side.
Yeah, even bums.
Of the street.
Even bums would go, fuck those dudes.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they were like a low lives.
I mean, that, and, you know, and I'm willing to say, like, a lot of serial killers get away with stuff because they look, quote-unquote, normal or can pass for normal.
Yeah.
And you don't really know. But those two, holy crap. Yeah. Like, if you saw those two walking around, you would just be like, yeah, no, I'm going over here.
Let me go ahead and plug. If you like the show, go ahead and like, share, subscribe. We are we are wholly supported by, we're demonetized. No, we're only partially monetized, aren't we?
Well, it depends on what the topic is.
And
depending on what the topic is.
We are supported by subscribers. If you listen to the show recorded, you can go ahead and if you would like to contribute, you can do a super thanks.
Yeah.
And of course, right now super chats are active. So that's all I had to say.
We have a Patreon as well.
Yeah, we have a Patreon.
Most of y'all know that.
We have a Patreon also.
Just thought we would break it up.
Right.
But yeah. So this woman, who, like I said, had a husband, I can't even imagine what the husband thought. Can you imagine, like, if you found out
your wife was
that I was like, but I wouldn't do that because why the fuck would I?
Right,
I'm writing to some serial killer. Like, oh, I love you. I'm gonna like pose as your murdered girlfriend to get you out of jail.
And then you look and it's Henry Lee Lucas,
right?
Motherfucker. You're like, what?
How would you feel about that?
Yeah,
probably not too good. I'm imagining.
That dude's ugly even by hillbilly standards.
That's what I mean. Yeah. It's just kind of like, look, I don't like to shit on anyone's physical appearance because you know, to some extent you can't really help it, but goddamn, come on. Although I would argue that Otis Toole was uglier than him.
Yeah, Otis was even uglier.
Although they were both,
and they were a couple.
Yeah,
they were like.
Well, see, that's another weird thing is that the two of them, Pokey, please stop. The two of them were lovers. Yeah, but that didn't stop. But like I said, Jeffrey Dahmer got a bunch of female fans too. Like even though he was obviously openly gay and just like targeted men, so it doesn't really matter. It seems like I said, I think there's an aspect of like celebrity to it too, because like I said, the more famous or infamous they are, like the more letters they get. But the fact that so this woman shows up and like tries to, I guess he had already told the authorities that he strangled and cut up his girlfriend Becky. Yeah. But when Phyllis Wilcox came to visit him, he told her, "Oh, well, I don't know what happened to her. I just saw her get on a bus or get in a truck or something like that. I didn't kill her." So I guess Phyllis got this idea in her head that's just like, well, I love him, so I'm going to get him off by saying that I'm her. Now, there were a couple of problems with this. One of the problems was that Phyllis Wilcox was 15 years older than Becky would have been, which is kind of a big thing. And also, the thing about it, like I said, is that Henry Lee Lucas had already confessed to killing her.
These are obstacles these geniuses can overcome, though.
And also, they found out shortly afterward that Phyllis Wilcox had also been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And that she had also corresponded at length with both Charles Manson and John Wayne Gacy.
Okay, so she was a groupie.
So she was, well, they do call them prison groupies or serial killer groupies. I don't get it. I think it's like a weird, like a more edgelord thing of like being a groupie of rock stars. Yeah. You know, I think it's kind of this along the same.
Rock stars are more selective. It's hard to be their groupies if they won't talk to you.
Yeah, and like I said, I watched a documentary that pointed that out. They said, look, it's just kind of like, look, if you're a big fan of like some band or something like that, they're not gonna necessarily like sleep with you or anything like that. But a serial killer might. Yeah. Like they're like lower tier, and it's just like they'll write to you, and it's like you can go visit them, you can see them in person, they might have sex with you, like if that's allowed, and all this other kind of stuff. So, you know, you have access to them that you wouldn't have with a rock star or a movie star or something like that. So I can kind of see that too. It's like these are women that have that mentality, you know, of idolizing famous people.
Where are you going?
But
where are you going?
You know, want to be able to have like more access to them, and that's who you have access to. And the fucked up thing, okay, so I found this fucked up too. It's fucked up enough that women are writing to Ted Bundy or Henry Lee Lucas, for Christ's sake, or anything like that. But then there's people like fucking Scott Peterson. Now, he killed his pregnant wife, Lacey, in 2004. And they said, like, as he, you know, he got convicted. They're like, he had been on death row like an hour before they started getting like phone calls and letters and stuff like that with like marriage proposals from women. He killed his pregnant wife.
Yeah.
And women are like, this seems like a good husband.
This is why women can't have
part
nice
of
things.
that. This is why women can't have nice things. I get what the Victorians were talking about. No, seriously. But, well, the thing about it is that, but the women that are doing this are obviously not right. Because that's obviously not right. Why would, in any universe, would you want to marry someone who is convicted of killing his pregnant wife?
Tammy got it right. Listen to what Tammy said.
What could be better than saving a bad boy, saving a bad gay boy, and turning him straight?
That's right.
Yeah, that might
That's
be
right.
That might be it.
Turning the motherfucker straight.
Yeah.
That's some
I mean, I could
power.
see that. Like I said, I could see that more with Dahmer because he was at least okay looking. Like he at least looked like a normal person. Henry Lee Lucas just looked like a fucking.
Yeah.
He just looked like a. Not even a bum, like a carnival freak or something.
Victor,
like,
is any of these women trying to turn you straight? You can drop down a comment section.
But yeah, now I'm kind of interested.
Yeah.
Now I'm kind of, you know, well, because that is the thing that, you know, there are a small subset of women that are like, well, if I'm cool enough to him and it's, you know, maybe he'll turn straight for me. And I think, well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. These particular kind of women, they want to feel special.
Yeah.
You want to feel special. You're the only person on earth that could do that.
That can fix this shit.
That can fix it.
Yeah.
So it's like whether the fixing is that's a serial killer or it's a gay man. Not that those are equivalent, obviously. But it's just kind of like...
She's going to turn it around.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a notch in her belt. It's like, it's a weird, I don't know, it's a weird mentality.
Okay, Victor has sent his response. He says, yes, all the time. I'm a male nurse, and all the female married nurses are horny as fuck.
Oh, they're not getting laid at home.
Yeah, fucking, all the nurses and fucking people we know that are goth and shit. I've heard
we know several goth nurses, which is very strange.
Yeah. One of them is my fucking leather daddy buddy.
Yeah, he's
a nurse.
He's a nurse.
He's a nurse, yeah. And then the other one is a cool goth chick that's our age, who's thin and little, and she's got a bunch of kids. They're all grown and gone, and she's out there cutting up
every single week,
dancing. Yeah, good dancer. Yeah, I think they're Orlando General, aren't they? Isn't that where they work?
I think they both work in the same place.
Both work there, yeah. Charisse is her name. Yeah,
she's super cool. I like her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been going out like
Sisters
forever.
of Mercy Jackson.
Like I said, she's our age.
She's our age, yeah.
And Toby's a little bit older.
Toby's a little bit older. He's about 5 years older than me.
But he's a nurse too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know a couple nurses, veterinarian, a couple lawyers.
Yeah.
Pharmacist. You know. So, we're not all bums.
They're under all that stress, I guess, around all that death and all that nasty shit, so they try to blow off steam with sex.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why they come out. Like I said, you were talking...
They don't have body fucking shame, either.
That's true.
They see naked people all the time. They don't care.
Well, and it's funny because you were talking to Toby this past Saturday, and you were talking to him about, you know, different, like, hormones and stuff like that. Yeah. And he was just like, bro, I do medical stuff, like, all week. I don't want to...
He's talking to me. What did he say to me? He said something. He says, look, dude, just shut up. I was like, what? He goes, just shut up, man. He says, what fuck your problem? And he goes, dude, I'm working all the fucking time, man. Injections and shit. I don't want to hear about that shit. It's okay.
He just wants to come out and dance.
Yeah.
He just wants to come out and dance.
Yeah.
He don't want to, like, talk
Because
about...
I love you, but shut up. Remember that? Because I love you, but shut up.
That's why... Well, you told me you said that. I fucking laughed my ass off. Toby's the best. He's awesome. He's an awesome person. But yeah. So the fact that this dude, and also another dude that gets a bunch of fan mail is Richard Allen Davis, who was the dude that abducted and murdered Polly Klaas, who was 12 years old, if you don't remember, back in 1993. And he gets loads of fucking fan mail from women. He killed a 12-year-old girl.
Yeah, that's hot, man.
What the fuck? And it's like, that I don't get.
Fucking crazy.
I mean, I don't get any of this.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. I don't know. Intellectually, I get it. But emotionally, I don't get it. Because I'm just like, yo, y'all have problems.
Bitches are crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you know. I get where, like, how it happens. You
The
know
disorder.
I mean? I get the disorder. Like, I
Yeah.
get how it gets from A to B.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I don't feel like that. So it's hard for me to, like, relate. So, yeah. So, like I said, fucking Ramirez, Night Stalker, he got a bunch of fucking fan mail, too. It's like, and I feel like he probably had, maybe not as much as Bundy, but I think he was, like, the second biggest.
Yeah.
Because everybody said how hot he was, even though he had the grossest fucking teeth.
That's what I was going to say. He had terrible teeth. They said evidently his breath was just fucking terrible.
I did not find him attractive in the slightest.
Yeah, I read a book that said his breath would just fucking kill you. He had bad teeth and bad breath.
Yeah, he had like the grossest fucking teeth I've ever seen.
His mouth, and I don't think he's got all new teeth now. He's been married and shit.
Well, yeah, he married.
I've seen pictures of him. He doesn't look the same. He doesn't have the long hair or anything.
Somebody mentioned like a long time ago, but yeah, he married one of his fangirls.
Yeah.
Doreen Leoes, I think how you pronounce her last name. They got married in 1996, but she even like. Here's the thing. So they stayed married for a long time. She defended him. I'm pretty sure she knew he was guilty, but she was like, well, you know, that's over now, or I'm okay with it, or whatever. But in 2009, after the DNA evidence confirmed that he had killed a 9-year-old girl, Mei Leong, at that point, she was like, yeah, I'm out. I don't think she ever divorced him officially, but she, like, cut ties with him completely. Yeah. Like, because it was a kid. I was like, oh, it was okay for him to, like, kill, like, adult women. But you found out that he killed a 9-year-old, which they suspected for all this time, but then they just proved it. And it's like, oh, and that was, like, a bridge too far? Okay. I don't know. I don't get it. Like I said, I know that they have mental problems. It's just, it's a hard time. I'm having a hard time. And other than fucking Scott Peterson, you remember that motherfucker, Chris Watts? He not only killed his wife, Shanann, but also killed their 2 daughters, who were 4 and 3, Bella and Celeste. And that was in 2018. And he also gets massive amounts of fan mail. And honestly, I think that he's like the most recent killer that gets all of this fan mail like that, because he gets brought up all the time when people talk about Hybristophilia. He has like a whole fucking fan club. And the shitty thing about this, the worst thing about this, is that most of the, like, a lot of the women in his fan club, because he's an okay looking dude, I guess. He's just like an average looking white dude, I guess. But it's just like, whatever. I don't really know. But, so a lot of the women that are in his fan club blame his wife for him killing her.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, he just couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, well, yeah, but what did the 4 and the fucking 3-year-old do then?
Yeah.
Like, not, I'm sorry, there's just no excuse for that. And, like, the thing that pisses me off the most about this, I kind of feel like it's a paraphilia, it's a fetish. Like, they have kind of like a weird psychological issues that lead them to this. But the problem with this particular one is that it's not just the serial killer. There are all the victims' families, which now have to see all of your stupid fucking messages talking about how awesome this dude is. And it's just kind of like, I don't love that. You know what I'm saying? I just kind of feel like that's...
Y'all remember Casey Anthony?
Yeah, we did a show about her.
The chick that killed her
baby,
evidently. Well, when I was working for Matt Seibel, Dr. Matt, he runs at Orlando General. His mom built that hospital. I was his caretaker, take care of all his horses, his grounds and everything, while he was off going to other countries in Egypt and shit. Well, his son worked at that courthouse where they tried Casey Anthony. And I was down in the stables, and he's walking around, and he's looking at my fucking bike. You know, he loved that Buick. He's like, God damn, that's fucking awesome. And I said, so how's that Casey Anthony shit going on? And he worked at that court, and he goes, oh, you know, they don't have anything on that girl. I was like, what? And he goes, yeah, the evidence really doesn't connect it directly to her. I mean, she's going to get acquitted. I said, really? And she goes, yeah, everybody likes her. I was like, damn, I was kind of blown away. And he goes, because everything that was going on in the media. Sure enough, she got acquitted. And then she ended up, eventually, working for a law office. Weird.
Here's the thing. It's like, I'm not sure how I feel about, because we did a show about her, and I kind of feel like
She
came
did.
down.
I
kind of feel like she probably
Yeah,
did, but
she
they
did.
didn't have enough evidence.
They couldn't quite connect. Yeah, in other states, she'd have gone down, I think.
I mean, it
They,
depends. Unless you're sure.
if it had been Louisiana, she'd have gone down because they don't really need evidence. If they think you're guilty, you're guilty. I mean, it's just look at lock them up, Louisiana. It's not normal
Yeah, they call it that for
law.
a reason.
It's French Napoleonic law is in Louisiana, and that's you're guilty. You're guilty until you prove your innocence. Now they say it. Well, we've changed that. No, that attitude's still there. Okay, but matter of fact, other countries, some of these fucking crazy ass countries, have modeled themselves after the state of Louisiana, the state of Louisiana's legal system. But the weird thing about that shit, I'd also heard before I had heard after she got acquitted, but before I heard that she was working for a law office, the rumors were that had come up on the internet, and I believe them, is that because they showed the photograph. Somebody said, "Isn't this Casey Anthony?" And it was in. They were talking about that case, and I don't remember why I was looking at that case, and it looked like her. And they go look at the link where it went to, and it went to like well, two of them. One of them went to basically hookups on fucking Backpage. Remember Backpage?
Yeah, kind of.
It was like prostitution.
Yeah.
And the other one went to some kind of cuddle buddy service.
Mm.
And a lot of people were going like, yeah, I think that is Casey Anthony. So she was working as like an escort for a while, evidently.
She's trying to like.
Who would hire
Her infamy to.
Yeah.
Well, some people would, I'm sure.
Yeah.
There's
But-
a lot of weirdos out there.
Well, I think a lot of straight places wouldn't fucking. She ended up fucking working for a law firm as like a paralegal though, or a secretary. But I'd also heard that's kind of fake. What she is she's a lawyer's girlfriend. That sounds more plausible.
Maybe.
Yeah. Weird. I think she did that though. There's no other explanation.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really see.
Yeah.
Like, I get that they didn't have enough evidence, but.
Yeah. They couldn't they didn't have a chain of evidence
Right.
to her. But who else could it have been?
Victor says, dude, I hate saying this, but Chris Watts is kind of hot.
Who the hell's that?
That's the dude that I just said that killed his wife and children.
Oh, okay. I don't really know who that is.
I mean, like I said, he just looks like a regular white dude to me, so I don't really know. Just like a average white dude. Like, he doesn't really stand out. I don't really know. But apparently a lot of women agree with you because he has like a huge amount of fangirls, which is messed up.
Erica
Well, it's because,
says
like I said, he didn't just kill his wife. He also killed his two little children, which his two daughters, which why any woman would find that attractive? That seems very maladaptive to me. Very maladaptive.
Erica is saying that she saw Casey Anthony. She's living up in Ohio now. Weird.
Maybe that
She used to live here. in
Yeah.
Florida. She was in this area.
Like I said, we haven't done it. We did a show about her a while back. Sabrina said, didn't Charles Manson get married to a young woman a few years before he died? Yeah, and matter of fact, I was just about to bring that up. Because, very famously, Charles Manson, for whatever reason, even though he looked like a weirdo, attracted lots of young women into his family. Had 18 of them, I think, living in his house at one time.
Yeah.
Or someone's house. Now, he was in prison for a very long time. He got married in 2014. And he didn't actually get married. What ended up happening was that he got engaged to this woman who was 26 in 2014. How the fuck old was Charles Manson in 2014? Old.
Oh, Victor says that Casey Anthony was working for a private investigator. That could be it.
Oh, okay.
That's very related. Private investigators and attorneys. It's all the same scene. The attorneys need them, build cases on other people.
Yeah.
So maybe my memory was wrong. It might have been a private investigator. Yeah.
But yeah. So this woman who was 26, her name was Afton Burton, and she actually got a marriage license on November 7th of 2014, and they were going to get married. And Manson was like all into her. He called her star, blah de blah. And she'd actually been visiting him for quite a long time, for almost a decade at this point. And she had like a bunch of websites that she wrote for that said he was innocent, blah de blah. Now the thing about it was that they got the marriage license, but they never married. And I guess because marriage license, it's only good for, how long is it good for? Like 3 months or something like that. And so it expired, and so they didn't get married. Now the story was, both of them told different stories. Charles Manson said, I let the marriage license expire because I found out that Afton, the woman he was going to marry, had a friend named Craig Hammond, and she was going to marry him because they were planning to use his corpse as a tourist attraction after he died.
That's funny.
Which I kind of love that.
That might be true.
Not going to lie. I kind of love that. It's like, yeah, we're going to mummify that bitch, and we're going to like put him on... put him on the fucking in Coney Island or some shit like that. I'm like, I kind of feel like that would be a fitting end. You know, I'm not usually a big advocate of like disrespecting the dead like that, but fuck him. Like, so I kind of thought that was kind of funny. I was like, I kind of hope that's true, but it didn't work out. According to her, she still wanted to get married, and she's just like, oh, he got sick, and there was this whole thing and blah blah blah. So I don't really know who's telling the truth, but I do kind of love the idea of them mummifying his body and putting it on fucking display at a circus or something like that. I kind of wish somebody had done that. That'd been awesome. He died though, right?
I think he's dead, yeah.
Did he die?
I think. I don't know.
I don't remember.
He's probably dead by now.
But yeah, so UK killers, we also have Peter Sutcliffe, who we mentioned before, Yorkshire Ripper. He has a bunch of fan girls. Remember the dude that we talked about that from Austria? What was his name? Joseph Fritzl, that imprisoned his daughter.
Oh, that guy.
Like down in the cell. We did a show about him, and like he impregnated her, and then like kept them both in the cellar.
That was some weird shit.
He got fan mail too.
Ridiculous.
What the fuck, ladies?
Yeah.
What is wrong with you, girls? And I told you before that like a bunch of terrorists also have that. Like Ted Kaczynski had a bunch of fangirls, and actually he had one woman who was named Joy Richards. And she started writing to him initially as kind of like a researcher kind of thing, and they kind of got interested, and she started sending him books and stuff like that, and I guess like it started getting romantic after that. I don't know if they ever met in person, but they kind of had like a, you know, like a letter romance or whatever.
So Charles Manson died in 2017.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he had died a couple years back. But yeah, so actually, so she died she died of cancer, and then he was like super sad about it, and like she gave all the letters to like her alma mater, which was like Smith College, I think. So they have all of that, but she had like this huge long correspondence with him, and she just thought he was the fucking greatest. And I told you before, like the Columbine shooters, you know, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, they have a whole social media presence, like a whole network called Columbiners, who, and I think these are mostly edgelords. I kind of feel like these are probably like teenagers or people in their 20s. But it's a lot of girls too that like think that they're they love the manifestos, and they love the philosophy, or if you want to call it that, like behind what they did, and they just think they're both are hot and all this other kind of stuff. And it's just kind of like, what girls, what the fuck is the matter with you? And also like the dude, remember that fucking neo-Nazi, the Norwegian guy, Anders Breivik. He killed a bunch of people in 2011.
The guy who swam across the lake and got up in there and
77 people I think he killed.
Wait a minute, is this the guy who got up on the island with all the rich people and the children of the rich people and got him down with the Mini-14? He scuba dived out there? Is it that guy?
I think it was that guy, yeah.
He wasn't a neo-Nazi, though. He's just kind of a He's an anti-globalist kind of, and I think he was pro-Christian, or he called himself. He said he was a Knights Templar.
Okay, bro.
Isn't that the same guy?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I'm
it was.
just saying.
Yeah, I don't know. The guy I'm thinking of was claimed to be a Knights Templar.
But whatever. But he got like fucking marriage proposals and stuff like that from like 16-year-old girls and shit like that.
Yeah.
I also wanted to bring up the case of Jeremy Meeks. Now this dude didn't kill anybody, but he was a felon. And in fact, he is known as the quote unquote hot felon. I remember seeing this dude's picture like going back a few years. So he was actually in the Crips. So he was a gang member. And he got arrested in 2014, like in a gang sweep, just like a general kind of sweep that they were arresting people. Now, his mugshot ended up going viral because apparently a lot of people thought he was super hot. And like I said, he didn't kill anyone, but he got convicted, I think, of like grand theft, and he also got convicted of being a felon in possession of a firearm because he had previous convictions for like robbery, and he also assaulted a 16-year-old boy. Now, after he got let out, because of his internet fame, he ended up becoming a model after he got out of prison in 2016 because so many people had passed around his mugshot going, look how hot this fucking felon is, which is fucking crazy. So remember we were saying before about how maybe sometimes these women have this fantasy that it's like, oh, well, I'm writing to these dudes in prison and they can't hurt me. They're like inside there, and it's like a whole fantasy relationship. Yeah, so sometimes that doesn't work out because there was this dude whose name was Philip Jablonski. Now, he's dead now. He died in 2019. But he was a serial killer. He was convicted ultimately of killing 5 women in California and Utah between 1978 and 1991. Now, the first thing that happened, so he met this woman whose name was Linda Kimball. And they became boyfriend and girlfriend. They moved in together. And they had a kid together in 1977. Pookie, please stop.
Knock it off.
She's not going to stop. Now, here's the thing. So the two of them are living together. They have a kid. Now, about a year, less than a year after their kid was born, his girlfriend's mom, whose name was Isabel, she lived kind of nearby. The dude, Philip Jablonski, breaks into the mom's house and was like in her bedroom. Like she woke up and found him in there. And she's like, what the fuck? I'm imagining. And he's like, well, I came here to rape you, but I couldn't do it because you look too much like your daughter, who was his girlfriend, which I'm just like, great. Okay. Now she got the fuck out the house but she didn't report it. Which probably she should have. I'm not victim blaming. I'm just saying she didn't report it. But she did tell. It seriously. She did. Well, yeah, which people didn't back in the 70s, but you should. This is like a big red, and this is why you should, because a couple of days later, the mom, I guess, told the daughter hey, your boyfriend and the father of your child came in here and said he was gonna rape me, which, like I said, that's kind of a break-upable offense there. So his girlfriend did break up with him. However, when the girlfriend came back to the apartment to pick up her shit, he killed her. So, yeah. She had been stabbed and strangled and beaten to death. So, there you go. So, he got arrested about a week and a half later. So, he got 12 years in prison. And then, in 1990, he got released on parole. Now, prior to that, in 1982, while he was still in prison, he started writing to a woman named Carol Spadoni. Now, he had placed a newspaper ad, asking for women to write to him. And I guess she found him intriguing, so she wrote to him. And they had been writing for all this time. So when he was released from jail in 1990, not too long after that, he went to visit Carol Spadoni in April of 1991, who was at that time 46 years old, and murdered her. He shot her, suffocated her with duct tape, and then stabbed her. And her mom, who was also at the house, whose name was Eva Peterson, was raped and shot. So this is what might happen when you write to these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Like, because that's what she'd been writing to him for years and years. And she probably thought the exact same thing. He wouldn't hurt me. And guess what happened? As soon as he got out, he went and killed not only her, but her mom. And raped her mom. Damn. So great. So yeah, he's dead now, like I said.
Brett,
he got the death penalty, but he died before what?
Brett, Phantom said that Breivik was a Knights Templar. But they kicked him out after he did that shooting. He got 21 years for it.
I would hope so.
We ought to do a show on that guy.
Yeah, we probably should.
That was a pretty good case. It was about religion. Went after a bunch of politicians because they let Muslims in. He was trying to, in his mind, he's protecting Christian lands and he's making the traders pay for it. Terrorism.
Well,
terrorism.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
religious terrorism.
I was talking about terrorism. Yeah. Also, and I think we brought this bitch up before, but Sandra London, who she's a true crime writer. We talked about her when we talked about Gerard Schaefer, the serial killer. She had actually dated him in high school, and I guess maybe her writing career was not going anywhere or wasn't as, cool as she wanted. And so she thought, well, I'm going to reconnect with this serial killer who by that point was still in prison, and, maybe I can find some fame off that. So she did that for a little while. Now, she also, after that whole thing went down, she actually ended up dating Danny Rolling, the Gainesville Ripper, for a little while too, who has been executed since. But she also published a book with him too. But I kind of feel like her whole thing was, again, kind of mercenary, because she was kind of like just trying to further her career by, hanging out with these serial killers. Maybe, I don't know if they had sex with them. I'm just saying. Now, as I mentioned, this is pretty much one of the very, very few paraphilias that are, that people who have it are overwhelmingly female. Whereas most paraphilias are overwhelmingly male. This is one of the few that is mostly females that have it. And I kind of looked for cases of men who did the same kind of shit.
They're not going to do it, probably.
Really? Because I kind of feel like the dynamic is different. Really, the only similar thing that I could find...
He can't get to her, so he didn't want her.
Well, the only similar thing I could find was a dude named James Whitehouse who fell in love with Susan Atkins, who was one of the Manson family.
Yeah.
And he was 15 years younger than her. And he apparently loved her so much that he went to fucking law school, Harvard Law School, and graduated, became a lawyer specifically so he could help her.
To get her out.
Yeah, so he represented her.
It may not be the same thing, though.
Yeah, so it's, I kind of feel like it's not exactly the same
Might have been a girl
psychology.
He probably got infatuated with her because she was pretty. Manson had pretty chicks.
Yeah.
And then he, out of curiosity, becomes a pen pal, and then he falls in love with her.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that's what happened. And I think...
And he tries to get her out of
it. And it was kind of a savior thing, which, like I said, some women have that too. They think the dude has been railroaded, or that he had a fucked up childhood and he shouldn't be held accountable or whatever, so they're trying to help him.
What's funny is it's more typical for a guy to get sidetracked by a flesh and blood woman that's right in front of him. It's weird how you stay focused on that one.
Yeah, but it does happen. I mean, but it's not usual. But he did actually represent her. She had parole hearings in 2000 and 2005, and he had a website that he kept up. Did
he ever get her out?
No, she died in 2009. Okay. Now, this was kind of interesting because I was on a Reddit post where somebody was asking about, because I was looking for examples of men that suffered from hybristophilia. Like I said, it does happen, but it's not nearly as common. And this one commenter said something that I thought was kind of interesting. It's why we don't see this particular paraphilia as much in men. And he said, or she said, I'm not really sure if it was a man or a woman, said the male equivalent would be a man going for a woman who's sexy but obviously damaged, thinking he can save her. For women, being damaged just expresses itself differently. So, yeah, and I kind of feel like that was the situation there where he was white knighting her, I guess, in a way. I don't know if he necessarily thought she was innocent, but maybe he thought there were mitigating circumstances or something like that. And it's just kind of like, but like I said, some women that have reported writing to serial killers, they kind of have the same thing where they think they can save the person, or they think that, you know, they're innocent and they've been railroaded and I'm going to help get them out of prison. Like, they're going to be the hero. So I kind of feel like it kind of goes both ways too. And like I said, keep in mind too that the reason that maybe a lot of men don't have this paraphilia is because, I mean, female serial killers are much, much, much rarer than male serial killers. So it could be there's just not as many of them to fixate on. It's just really not the same dynamic like the other way around, I feel like. You know what I mean? You know, do you agree with that?
Yeah. I'm answering somebody in the comment section.
Yeah, it just... Because look at... Yeah, Tammy said, what do you call the woman who adopted Warnos when she was in jail? Did she come under this? Yeah, that's right. I had forgotten all about that. I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like that's similar. It's similar. Not exactly the same, but it's like the similar... I don't know. I feel like it's kind of the similar thing. It's interesting because... I don't know. There's different reasons, but not... I don't know. It's not as different in some ways. Like I said, particularly this last one about Susan Atkins, where this guy, like, felt sorry for her. And it's like, well, I'm going to save her. I'm going to get her out. But some women have been like that, too.
Yeah.
Like, about the dudes. It's like, oh, well, like, look at the fucking woman trying to get Henry Lee Lucas out. Like, why the fuck would you want that dude running around loose? But I don't know. But just like, I'm going to pretend to be his murdered girlfriend. Like, to get him out. Like, to save him. So it's kind of like the same thing. Kind of like the same thing. I feel like that's kind of thing. Let's see.
Yeah, Phantom was saying that in there. He brought up something that's kind of interesting. He said that Beverage guy, he actually got inspired by doing that attack because he saw it on a television program, which inspired him to do it. That mission. So there's some kind of crossover there. What you saw, the 9/11 thing, planes going into the Twin Towers, was actually shown on a television program. I think it was about true crime or terrorism. I don't know. Months before it actually happened, and Alex Jones saw that on television, and then fucking when on his show he goes, that was a good idea for an attack. Somebody call the White House and tell them somebody's going to run airplanes into the Twin Towers, and they're going to say it's probably going to be Osama bin Laden. Turned out it happened, but it was months later. Now, some people say, well, AJ predicted it. They asked him that, how'd you predict it? He says, I didn't predict it. I saw it on television.
Well, didn't some people say that, like, there's kind of a running gag on the internet that The Simpsons predict everything? Yeah, there was something like that on The Simpsons, like, years and years ago.
Yeah, but I think there's also an AI-generated thing where you can pull up an image that looks like it's from The Simpsons of anything.
Well, yeah.
And it's not from The Simpsons. That's a new production. It makes it look like it was on The Simpsons. A picture. You know what I mean? Looks like
well, no, I know that, but it's just kind of... But no, The Simpsons did actually...
They did actually kind of predict... Yeah. But AJ said he didn't predict it. He said that was in the zeitgeist. Months before it actually happened. He suspected maybe it was like pre-programming to get everybody ready for it to happen so it would have more psychological impact. You know, maybe the intelligence agencies knew it would happen too. You know what I mean? So they were kind of laying fertile ground. Other people would say, well, maybe they were inspired by it. They got the idea. Maybe it was just synchronicity. Maybe people start thinking along the same lines at the time. I don't know. But maybe it could have been kind of a pre-programmed event.
Shauna asked an interesting question. What about the Elliot Rodger kid that went on a killing spree in Santa Barbara just because he couldn't get a girlfriend?
Yeah.
Now, had he lived, which he didn't, thankfully, you know, he did us all a favor and took himself out. But had he lived and gone to prison, would he have had... I know that Elliot Rodger has a huge fan club among incels. Among women, does he?
I don't think so.
The Columbine shooters do, and they're dead also.
He was kind of repulsive in the way he spoke. His mannerisms were kind of...
Well, that's what's weird about it, because Elliot Rodger...
He wasn't normal.
Well, no, but neither were the Columbine shooters.
No, those guys actually, if you see videos of them, they acted like cool kids. They acted totally normal. They were kind of the cool kids.
I kind of find it hard to believe, though, that, like, nobody anywhere would have, like, a fan club for Elliot, other than incels, because I know there's a huge... I mean, Elliot Rodger has a huge following, like, in the, like, incel forums and stuff like that. A huge following. But I don't know about Hybristophilia type situations. I know the Columbine shooters have, like, a lot of female fans.
There's a lot of things against...
I don't know about Elliot Rodger, though. I didn't even think to check.
Rodgers being in that situation. One, I don't think he could have survived prison. And then I don't think he could have attracted that kind of fandom. If they ever wrote him, he probably would write some real fucked up shit back that...
He'd be super condescending.
It'd be kind of condescending and it'd be real robotic. And then if they ever came to meet him, I don't think he could charm them. He was weird. He definitely was kind of like an AI robot that was malfunctioning. From all the recordings I've seen of that dude, just the way he moved, the way he spoke, the way he thought, that's not a normal person.
No, he clearly was not.
Yeah.
I mean, none of these fuckers are.
No.
But I mean,
but that dude came across as like mentally handicapped in a weird way, like some kind of weird autism. Not normal autism, and some other kind of autism. Just, you know how I say you can tell a pathological liar by their speech patterns. His speech pattern was so odd that I don't think he couldn't pull pussy. I think he was repellent to women. I mean, there's women in the
I mean, a lot of dudes like that are repellent. Anytime
he made me very uncomfortable listening to him talk. I felt very cringy.
Yeah, he's very
like,
cringy.
Very like uncomfortable listening to him. He's having problems communicating, and just like ooh, kind of give you ooh.
Well, you can see why women didn't want anything to do with him.
There was definitely his signals that he gave off were very wrong.
And then the fact that he compounded the error by making YouTube videos crying about women being put off by him. I'm like, they're put off by you because of the way you
talking about
act.
It. Yeah.
And the fact that you're making YouTube videos about, like, crying about it, that's making it worse.
Make it even worse. He was kind of like in a spiral. And his mental health didn't seem to be normal, so no.
And I mean, we did a show about him, and like, to their credit, it did seem like his parents tried to get him help. So they did realize that something was going on. So it wasn't like they just, didn't do anything or didn't see what was going on. They knew something was wrong and they tried to help him, but I don't know. He might have just been past help. I'm not really sure.
It was something organic in him, I think.
Yeah, he just seemed like not right.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these, like I said, a lot of these dudes are obviously not right, but it's all on a spectrum. Like some of them can seem kind of normal. He could not get away with seeming normal at all, like for even 5 seconds. So maybe that's why. I don't know. I could be wrong. There could be a huge female fan base for Elliot Rodger. Like I said, I know there's a huge male fan base for him, but I don't know if he has a female fan base the same way that the Columbine shooters do. But which is messed up in itself.
I can't really get rid of this cough, man. It just keeps coming back.
Yeah, I know.
So, you hungry?
Yeah, starving.
All right, I'm making something. I'm starving too. I'm making something to eat.
But yeah, all right. So hold on. Phantom says long shows are the best shows.
Yeah.
Thanks for this time, Jetty. Yeah, we've been on a while. How long have we been on? Almost 4 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, we had a lot of shit to get through. You know what I mean? So.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start us something to eat.
All right. So I guess we're gonna wrap it up for this evening. All right. Because we've been going on a long time. Kind of want something to eat because we haven't had much to eat today.
Yeah, we didn't eat much today. Yeah.
We ate a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks everybody for dropping by this evening. This was a fascinating topic when we actually talked about it. But yeah, so we will be back Friday night for the Sidetrack show. Might be a little bit shorter because I think we're going to Memento Mori on Friday night, so it'll just be like a pregame for a couple of hours before we go out. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. Thank you very much for dropping by and hanging out with us this evening. And we will see you again on Friday night. Good night.